Welcome 32 everyone. This is another episode of Beyond the Tape. TJ Wingard here with you for another episode of Beyond the Tape presented by 32 Beat Writers. And hey, we've made it to another Friday, another weekend. That means it's time for yet another mock draft. And today I had the distinct pleasure of welcoming not only co-host of the PFF college football show, but co-host of the PFF NFL main show. And that is my guy, Dalton Wasserman. Dalton, man, really excited to have you on here, and I appreciate you carving out some time for us.
Oh, I appreciate you having me on here as well. I know you get us guys reps. I know you've had Max Chadwick on before. I'm not sure if you had Trevor Sikkema on before too. You're getting all of us reps here too. So it's always fun to talk about the draft and all the speculation that comes with it. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course, man. Yeah. Max, we loved having him on a couple weeks ago. Pumped for you to be on today. And then I did reach out to Trev. So he's a busy guy, though. So I don't want to come across too pushy. But yeah, dude, I mean, I'd said this to Max right off rip and or at the end of the episode he was on. But I love what you guys do for PFF. You know, a lot of people want to give you guys flack. But for me, it's like twofold. One, if you have a problem with their system, you grade every single play from every player of each week. I would love to see what that looks like on your side. But then secondly, also, like, even if you don't love the process, I think you guys are kind of unveiling the invisible strings that kind of move the NFL and move the game. I think you guys are just adding more nuance to the conversation. So yeah, of course, got to get you guys on, man. I really appreciate the work you guys do.
Yeah, no, and you mentioned that connection between the grades and just kind of how to communicate that. I did the grading behind the scenes for 3 years, so it's always fun for me to see the different, just the difference in obviously the tape watchers' opinions, and that's really where the grades come from. It's a reflection of the tape, right? And I could, we could another time go over the ins and outs of all how all that goes down, but it's a lot of fun for me going from that side now to going to kind of the communicating side and just helping people understand here's how these work, here's how they represent themselves, and then even getting into the draft, especially different situations, different alignments, different roles. It's a lot of fun to put all those puzzle pieces all together.
100%. I did 2 years worth of grading myself. It was really mostly player participation. But even that, like, once you do it, you understand it's like, dude, these people are putting 4 to 6 hours worth of time into each game, depending on how many snaps and whatnot, and what offense you're looking at, really. And then secondly, like, little things like when I'm doing this charting and it's like, oh, why did Jahdae Barron have this linebacker snap? Oh, there was no receiver on that side. So it just gives you a better understanding of how PFF as a whole too works. But all that to say, man, you guys have great insight. And today we get the honor of having you on for a 2-round mock draft. Dalton's going to start out with the odds, and we are doing mostly predictive. I think that's, hey, we're towards the end of March. We're basically, 5 weeks away? I think it's a month and 4 days away from the draft, which is crazy for me to say. But I think we're doing mostly predictive with some splashes of, hey, if this was my personal board, I'd go here. And then you might see a couple picks where it's like, hey, they may not do this, but I think this fit makes a lot of sense. Just so everyone knows where Dalton and I are coming from. But all that said, Dalton, start us off. The Tennessee Titans are on the clock, picking number 1 overall. What do you want to do here?
Look, the Titans were last in the league in passing grade. Will Levis is the only quarterback on the roster. And we've kind of believed for the last few weeks now, where there's smoke, there is fire. And right now, I think the overwhelming favorite for this pick is for it to be Cam Ward, right? I know there's been talk about a trade down, especially with the Giants. And the problem for the Titans is that they would be taking on the issue the Giants have right now, is that they don't control their own destiny with the 3rd overall pick, right? And there's been more and more steam lately coming about, okay, the Browns might like Shedeur Sanders. It's possible they could take a quarterback as well. And the Giants, or whoever may be sitting in that 3rd spot at the end of it, could get left in the dark on a quarterback. So I don't think the Titans are trading down. I think Abdul Carter is a thought because they still have a need off the edge. But I think at the end of the day, the league believes Cam Ward is the number 1 quarterback in this draft. There can be some debate between him and Shedeur Sanders. I think it's going to be Cam Ward with this first pick. I would say even 5 weeks out, I'm about at least 90% sure that that's the pick. Tennessee gets its franchise quarterback number 1 out of Miami.
And that takes us to the Browns at 2. And like you said there, you get to the combine and it's like, oh, teams aren't impressed with Shedeur. They didn't like his interviews. He's fallen. The world's, panic ensues. And then you get a couple weeks removed from that, and it's like, you know what? The Raiders go get a guy. They're probably out of the market at 6, and probably because Shedeur is probably not going to get to him. All these little things. And it's like, no, never mind. He's going to go top 3. This is to me, I think ultimately we're going to have 4 guys go 1 through 4, and that's going to be the right 4. I think we're going to have the right 4 names going in the top 4 here. But I've been deliberating on what I want to do with this pick so badly. I've had some mocks where Shedeur goes here, but I don't think I've done it here on the 32 Beat Writers channel, so I thought about that. But ultimately, I'm going to go in a different route. I'm going to do more of the same, and then, the one odd pick, I'm going to make it to the top of the second round to kind of have my opportunity to vocalize my love for my quarterback 3. So I'm going to go Abdul Carter here. And, I get it. Shedeur Sanders, there's like a Kevin Stefanski has worked with a quarterback skill set similar to Shedeur and had a lot of success in the under center and the play action. And also, I think you've done a great job highlighting Shedeur was Colorado's offense. The run game was non-existent. Kevin Stefanski is not going to let that be the case in Cleveland. So in a lot of ways, I do think that is an advantageous situation. Plus, they're building a stadium and a dome. They're taking away the elements. There goes some of the concerns there with the arm, too. But that being said, let's just say it's Russell Wilson going to Cleveland. We'll talk about the Steelers and Aaron Rodgers. At the time of recording, 3:13 on Friday, Rodgers, I think, has left the building with the Steelers, but I don't think there was a contract. But he did visit Pittsburgh today. So therefore, let's just say Russ goes to Cleveland. It's him and Kenny Pickett, just two former Steelers living it up. I think there's a world, even with Russ, and I'm not the world's biggest Russ guy, but with an edge tandem of Garrett and Carter, I think you can win enough races to 20. And I feel like that's really all it would take. So let me hear your thoughts. Where would you go with this pick if you're Cleveland? I know Shedeur is your QB1, so is that the route you would go here?
I actually don't think so. I'm not a fan of the Browns actually taking any quarterback in this draft, just with the way their roster is constructed. I don't believe they are ready to win in 2025. I don't believe they're going to be ready to win until Deshaun Watson is off the roster. There's a good handful of guys in the 2026 draft, especially Arch Manning, when you think about another Manning coming into the league, that I think the Browns might dip their toe into the 2026 boat at quarterback. I don't think they're set up for a rookie quarterback to have success. Now, if you sign another veteran like Russell Wilson and you drafted a quarterback and you kind of were looking to redshirt a guy, I could see the case, but even then at second overall, it's tough. Now, Then there's a debate of, I'm assuming the debate you're having is Abdul Carter versus Travis Hunter.
Right.
Lately, I've been leaning towards Travis Hunter with this pick for two reasons. One, Carter and Garrett, it's obviously scary, but the Browns are already really good in their front seven, right? For us, They were number 1 in run defense grade as a team last year, and they were number 3 in pass rush grade, I believe, behind Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. It was their coverage that was really the issue. And when I think about Travis Hunter, obviously the two-way possibilities, I think he could have a shot to play both ways in the league, and also a needed receiver. Andrew Berry at the Combine talked about, I view Travis Hunter as a receiver first. I think he could be one of the best receivers in football. So if he feels like Travis Hunter were that level of number 1 receiver to complement Jerry Jeudy, to complement David Njoku, and then maybe later on get into this running back class a little bit, I could see the road there of stop-gapping it with a veteran, developing Travis Hunter at receiver, maybe some at corner also because they need help at both spots. But I've been leaning on Hunter there. I totally get the idea with Carter. You have a pass rush pairing that, within a year or two could be the best in football by far. It's just a matter to me of this team has so many issues on offense. If you do take Carter with the first pick, I think you spend almost every other pick in this draft on offense.
And I promise to our 32 Beat Writer subscribers, eventually I will do Shedeur Sanders, and that will open up the door for Abdul Carter to be the pick at 4 for New England. I got a lot of Patriots fans that are like, please throw us a bone every once in a while. Just give me Carter at 4. No, and I hear you. And just to be clear, on my big board, Hunter's number 1, Carter's number 2. You just can't put a price on what he can do both ways. And I actually think that Tom McShay on his podcast with The Ringer, he did a good job kind of breaking it down too. And hey, going back to your background, grading and doing some of the back end work with PFF, there's more snaps per week in a college game, and that's that's part of the breakdown, right? And that's why it takes more time to do some of those college games, from a grading standpoint and player petition standpoint. So I do almost wonder, right? Like going from college where there's typically more snaps per week, does that make it a little easier at the NFL? The trade-off is 17 game schedule versus how many games did Colorado play last year? I want to say 13.
13, yes. Yeah,
13. So, it's less snaps per week, but it's 4 more games a year. So there is a trade-off there. But again, to my point, Carter, my player number 2, Hunter's my top player on my big board. It just comes down to you can't make up value out of nowhere if a guy plays 2 ways. Like that's just insane. But Carter plus Garrett, though, that was why I decided to lean in that direction. That would just be an awesome 1-2 punch there. But I give it to you with the Giants here at 3. I feel like this is I made your decision pretty easier.
Yeah, you did. And the problem for the Giants here is they're backed into a corner, right, with their quarterback situation. And for as much as there are more talented football players on the board, you talk about Mason Graham, you talk about Travis Hunter, Tetero McMillan, Ashton Jinty, even, an offensive tackle would help them here. But they just don't have a quarterback right now. They don't have a viable quarterback situation. So for as much as it feels like they're backed into a corner, if the Browns don't take him, I'm fully of the belief that the Giants are going to take Shedeur Sanders. Been a little bit of a connection there. We remember the video of him throwing the ball in the streets of New York City to Malik Neighbors. It was a dap with Brian Daboll, I believe, at the Shrine Bowl. He was wearing the Giants cleats before the bowl game against BYU. And look, I love Shedeur. I have him QB1. I think there's a very high floor. I think he's actually the most ready to start right now in the NFL. And you look at what the Giants have offensively, I still think they need a little bit of help on their offensive line. I'm not sure what's going on with that right tackle situation. Andrew Thomas has to get healthy, but talking about a front three at receiver of Malik Neighbors, Darius Slayton, Wan'Dale Robinson. You could do a lot worse than that. I would like them to see it, to see about maybe dipping into another bit of this running back class later on day 2 even. And they spent free agency fixing this secondary and re-signing Darius Slayton. For as much as I would say, maybe Travis Hunter is the call here, sure. You have 3 receivers sitting there, and you already have 5 players in the secondary. That's your starting 5, and they're all going to be 26 or younger going into next season, unless they're really feeling like Deonte Banks is just not the answer, which I don't think they're going to do in year 3. Then it's not going to be Travis Hunter. I really don't think it is. And you start narrowing down options. Okay, if you take Mason Graham, he's a good pairing with Dexter Lawrence, but you don't have a quarterback. If you take Ashton Jinty, cool, but you don't have a quarterback. So I think the Giants have very much backed into a corner, and this would be the most fortunate thing that could happen to them. The Browns not taking Shedeur. They go ahead with Shedeur Sanders. I think he's ready to start day 1. I believe he reads defenses at an NFL level. Obviously, he doesn't have A-plus Josh Allen type arm strength, but I think his accuracy, his processing, his decision-making is something that Brian Daboll is really going to like.
Yeah, and Shedeur sees the field so well, man, and you can't really put a price tag on that. And I do almost wonder if there is a world and a possibility of something similar to the Trubisky trade. A handful of years ago, Chicago just moves up 1 spot just because they wanted to be sure that they were going to go get, their guy. And if you're Cleveland and you're looking back at that trade and you're like, oh, well, we were going to go take someone else anyways. We'll take whatever you want to give us too. And I know you floated out the trade back scenario. It does take 2 to tango, but I could see a world where even just for 1 spot, for the Giants be able to drop their shoulders a little bit and say, we're getting a quarterback. I could see a world where maybe they make that work. That being said, the Giants roster still has holes on it, so don't want to give away too many draft picks. Then we get to the Patriots here. This one is, I got to go Travis Hunter. Again, I think these are going to be the top 4 names we hear at the NFL draft. I think in some combination, these are going to be the 4 we hear. It just comes down to what is that order, and is there any trades, anybody moving up for these guys? But I've been saying this whole draft cycle, Travis Hunter playing at corner and then play him, 15, 20 reps a week on the offensive side. For New England, I'd be willing to flip that, to be honest with you. I think Carlton Davis, Christian Gonzalez, I'm pretty pumped up about that. Marcus Jones, I always kind of liked him as a nickel corner as well back in his day at Houston. Back when he came out, I liked him a good bit. So I would just let Travis Hunter, let him loose. That's your X receiver. Bring in Stephon Diggs, let him play the slot. Hey, now we're starting to feel pretty good about Drake May. So I know a lot of our New England fans are tired of seeing this, but it's just how the board shakes out. And the way I see it, you're getting the top player on my board at 4. I don't know how you can be upset about that.
Totally agree. I mean, I would argue there has not ever been a player like Travis Hunter that has come into the draft, right? That has the 2-way capabilities, top 10 in both receiving grade and coverage grade for us last year. You could play them both ways. You mentioned it. Having Gonzalez and Davis maybe makes you think, okay, on this team, he would play receiver. He'd be Drake May's number 1 receiver. And I think a big part of this that needs to get talked about now, Tennessee, their front office had kind of divulged to us that, okay, we think he's a corner first. Andrew Berry had talked about, we think he's a receiver first. We haven't heard that from Elliott Wolf. We haven't really heard that from Mike Vrabel about which way they lean. And a lot of it is going to depend on New England's opinion of Hunter, maybe as a receiver, now that the cornerback spot has been filled. I think the one other guy that would make sense here if they were going that route, obviously, is Teteroa McMillan, right? I think he would still very much be on the board. The one thing Mike Vrabel did talk about, not that Travis Hunter can't do this because his ball skills are incredible, is he made a comment at the Combine as well about having a receiver that can haul in off-target throws, that can help out my quarterback with a catch radius. Well, that's Teteroa McMillan to a T, right? So I still think that would be under consideration. But you're right. Hunter's the most talented football player in this draft for what he can do both ways and all the possibilities he can give you on both sides of the ball.
And like I said earlier, what do you do with wins above replacement when the guy plays both ways? It's the Shohei Ohtani problem I think to a smaller degree, because I don't think Hunter is going to be the top 5 corner and top 5 NFL receiver at the next level. But hey, never say never. At this point, this guy has proven it so far that he could do it. So I don't want to counter that.
Watching him for the last 2 years at Colorado, I refuse to doubt anything he can do. I'm of the belief that if you have the room for it, let him try it. Let him try it. Let him try to play 80% both ways and see where it goes. Absolutely.
I love it. All right, it's you with the Jags at 5. What do you want to do here? I got a feeling this is like maybe the most chalky pick of any mock draft, but it makes a lot of sense at the same time.
It's chalky. It makes a boatload of sense. I'm going to do it every single time if Travis Hunter is not on the board. Right. Interior defensive line. Jaguars defensive tackles ranked 28th in PFF grade this past year, second to last in pass rush grade. I think we've seen, and I believe James Gladstone recently talked about, somebody asked him, hey, you haven't signed any defensive tackles in free agency. And his answer was something to the effect of like, oh, yeah, I know. And that kind of idea. So unless this guy were to go I don't think he would go to Cleveland. Maybe New England would think about him, fill in, but they just signed Milton Williams, so I think it's a lot less likely. I think Mason Graham is the easy slam dunk pick here for the Jags at 5. And look, I know he weighed in at the combine at 296. Apparently at his pro day, I forget if it was today or yesterday at Michigan, 306 pounds now. Max has told me he's got a source that says Mason played around 315 during the season, and if he moves the way he does on tape at 315, easy home run pick. I'll be honest with you, I know traits and arm length and all these things come into play, but I with Mason Graham, he's the talent. He's the caliber talent. I don't care. You take that guy. If you're the Jaguars and you have a defensive line now, you have Trayvon Walker, Josh Hines-Allen, Eric Armstead, and Mason Graham. I think it fills out that front 7 really nicely, and they're really building something on defense in Jacksonville. If Travis Hunter's not on the board, I will mock Mason Graham to the Jags every single time.
No, I totally agree. And I actually mentioned that exact quote. It was last Friday. We did a mock with Mike Renner at CBS Sports, and it was like a couple hours before we hit record that I heard that. And I was like, okay. He basically just said, hey, Milton Williams is a Patriot. They're not going to draft Mason Graham. So we are. There's not a world where he gets to 5 and he's not a Jacksonville Jaguar. So get ready to learn Duval, buddy. All right, let's get to the Raiders here at 6. I'm kind of torn here because, I guess we could even have a Ted McMillan talk here. Any thoughts on his 40 time at the pro day? I'm not concerned about it. Even going to the Mason Graham point, like a lot of times I'll just stick to what I have in my notes, even if I get numbers. I mean, you should adjust and adapt, and we'll talk about it with Matthew Golden too later. But, with Mason Graham, I had in my notes, looks 305. And I was content with that. I'm like, 305 at the 3 tech? That's great. So the pro day kind of checks out for me, and I love that number. And then for Ted, I wrote down 4.55, and I'm comfortable with it. Like, I'm fine with it. With everything else he does, sounds great. So I know there's the Jordan Schultz. He's a 4.48 guy. I was like, there's next to no way. Like, I don't fully see that. But I'm cool with mid 4.5s. I think that's totally fine. And I'm thinking about him here for the Raiders. I do think I'm going to go Ashton Jeanty, but let me hear your thoughts with all this, pro day 40 time with Ted McMillan. Does it matter? Does it not matter to you?
It doesn't matter to me. Look, he's a smooth mover. I think he could do a slightly better job getting off press, but they can teach him that in the league. I think you talk about, look, you have to remember the 40 time is cool, but I think to me, and we're going to talk about this with some other guys, especially at receiver in this draft, there's guys who are fast, and then there's guys who are efficient movers. And when you talk about Tetaroa being 6'5" and 215, he's an efficient mover. I love him vertically. The last 2 years of college football, he's been the best receiver in the country on 10-plus yard targets. You talk about getting vertical, and in this scenario with Geno Smith, who's been one of the best vertical passers in the league for the last 3 years, I think it's a great fit. But I do think Ginty's a great fit, too, for a team that was last in the league in rushing grade and has no answers at running back right now. So I don't think you can go wrong with either player with this pick. I've been kind of deferring to whoever I'm on a show with this because I think they're both right picks. I love Ashton. I love Tetaroa. I'm not concerned about the 40 time at all. I think there's somewhere he's in that category to me of like Drake London and Mike Evans, where the size and the athleticism at that size, I just go, I'm so not worried about 7/100ths of a second. I'm not at all. This guy's a freak of nature.
100%. I agree with you fully. And talking about this Raiders pick, I was literally at the gym thinking about it earlier. I was like, what do I want to do here at 6? Because to me, like an ideal 3-round haul, it could be great either way, right? Like Jeanty here at 6, corner at the top of the 2nd round, Trey Harris at the top of the 3rd round. Like, oh my God, pump that in my veins. I'm pumped up. I'm not the world's biggest Trey Harris fan, but to get them an ex-receiver in that room, I'm willing to take that shot. Or you go Tet here. Maybe you go Quinshaw Judkins in the 2nd round. You go corner in the 3rd. Like that's friggin'. I'm pumped up thinking about that too. But
I'll tell you. Keep in mind, you just mentioned one of the names, and there's another one in Travion Henderson. Keep in mind, Chip Kelly is their offensive coordinator. You start spinning those wheels there, maybe in the 2nd round of either of those two guys getting. So I've even wondered in the past about could they take Will Howard? How many Ohio State guys land with the Raiders here? But the decision would, if you draft Ashton Jeanty, you're obviously not going with one of those backs. But that's something I think to keep in mind here when they talk. What is their 2nd pick? What are we going to do later here? It's
37.
They're picking at 37's well within. If he wanted Quinshawn or Travion, I think he could absolutely get him there.
Yeah. And then what does the 3rd round corner market look like? Is that a Jacob Parrish? Like, who is that 3rd round? Let me just take a look. I was planning on going JT, but now I feel like I got to pivot. Maybe Dorian Strong, Kobe Bryant, get some dog in that room. I like Will Williams too.
I think I'll tell you, I don't think he would get this far because where we talk, well, maybe 68. I don't know if he would get this far, but man, Pete Carroll would love Darian Porter.
100%.
He would. Azarie Thomas, I think also if he got that far. It sounds like in league, so we have him 62 on our board. It sounds like in league circles he's going to go higher than that. I think about those corners with size. Even say in round 4, maybe a Zy Alexander from LSU. Right. I think about what Pete Carroll likes in his cornerback room. But also, I mean, we could think about safety. We're not doing a 3-rounder today, so we're getting ahead of it. But safety also, I mean, they need everything in the whole secondary. They need to rebuild this entire secondary. They were last in the league in coverage grades. So, one way or the other, I think the Raiders, and there's several teams like this first pick for the Raiders is going to define the roadmap for their entire draft. And I'm not making your pick certainly any easier here saying that. But, I think the coin flip at the top to me is where it's at. This pick in this scenario has to be McMillan or Ginty. And, well, you have the final say, so I'm just going to let you do it.
I'm going to go Ashton Ginty. I think, and I get it. Like, I would love to get those Ohio State guys in there, familiarity with Chip Kelly, totally. But they got 2 third-round picks, so I'm thinking Will Howard or one of those backs is going to be one of those third-rounders. It just comes down to where it is. But let's go with the roadmap of GT plus second-round corner, whether it's Trey Amos. And, I mean, honestly, I don't rule out Darian Porter that high. I know that's a little high for some, but I'm a pretty big Darian Porter guy. And you're right, like Pete Carroll, he's like chomping at the bit to make that happen. And then maybe it's Trey Harris at the top of the third round. But I'm going to go Ashton Ginty here. You got a quarterback in their mid-30s. This is Pete Carroll's DNA through and through. They have a good offensive line. Jax Powers-Johnson, actually one of the highest-graded centers, the highest grade I've ever given to a center, actually, since I've been doing this starting in 2018. So I'm like, dude, JPJ, Ashton Ginty, like, sign me up for that. I would love to see that run game. So I'm going to go Ginty here at 6. The other thing about Ginty is he's either going to be a Raider or a Bear. Like, at this point, I feel like he's 6 or 10. Like, it's going to be one of those 2 spots. But I don't really love Ginty at 10 for the Bears. I still think D-line there. So we'll avoid that situation and that mind puzzle I have to navigate there. So I'm going to go Ginty here at 6.
For sure. All right, the Jets, my New York Jets at 7. And to me, and I know there's been a lot of noise about Armand Membu here with this pick. And the Jets, they signed Chukwuma Okorafor, who could play right tackle if you need him to. He's obviously kind of a placeholder. But I know Tanner Engstrand, Aaron Glenn, they're going to emphasize offensive line. But they have 4 of the 5 guys who are set, locked in right now. When you talk about Olu Fashanu, John Simpson, Joe Tippmann, Elijah Vera-Tucker, would a right tackle, would Armand Membu a year from now maybe make them the best offensive line in football? Maybe, but I think they're pretty good as is. The 2 guys I think about here are McMillan, who you just passed up at 6, and Tyler Warren. I mean, the Jets, look, they got a black hole at tight end right now. They were the 3rd lowest graded group of tight ends last year, and Tyler Conklin is leaving that group. So they really don't have a starting caliber tight end, but they only have Garrett Wilson in the receiving core.
Right.
And they've done nothing in free agency to supplement that either. So you're looking at Malachi Corley, who they didn't use at all last year. Xavier Gibson profiles as more of a punt return, kick return, gadget guy, right? Alan Lazard, I would still be shocked if he was on the roster at the beginning of the year, but he is currently. That doesn't do a whole lot for me. Those are my 2 choices, and I think it's really it's tough to tell because if you want to really emphasize just running the football and getting Tyler Warren's two-way ability, I get it. I think he's a special. I do. I think what he did at Penn State this past year was special, but I think McMillan's one of the special players in this draft too. Man, I know it's been the most mocked one. I'm going to go Tyler Warren here.
Okay.
And there's I do think it's entirely possible. And there's a small part of me that wants to put you on the spot with this 8th pick because I know everyone's going to go defense, but I've been saying with the Panthers.
Yep. I know
they don't need a plethora of weapons, but if they had a chance to get that one weapon on McMillan's caliber, would they do it? I'm putting you in Dan Morgan's shoes right here.
Yeah, no, that's actually doomsday. And I'll be honest, I don't know what your plan is at 9. I know the Saints just signed Brandon Cooks, but if Ted gets to them at 9, I think that's the perfect way to round out that room with Shaheed and Alavi. I think he's a great compliment. Warren's an interesting guy for them too. Oh, yeah, you did put me in a tough spot here. Man. I don't know. I still have faith in Leggett. I have a higher grade on McMillan. They're just comparing prospect one year to the next. So I feel like I almost have Jalen Coker. I'm a big Jalen Coker guy, too. I got him in Dynasty, so full faith there.
There would still be a place for Leggett in the offense. I think it just when you talk about thickening it at the top and getting a talented guy like McMillan at the top of it, and if you're because we got to keep in mind we've been talking Panthers defense all offseason and everything they need on defense, but you're still trying to build a team around a number 1 overall pick quarterback 100%. Too now, and he played fantastic down the second half of the season.
No, you know what? I'll go Ted McMillan real quick. I was going to go Jalen Walker here. I do have a lot of Panthers fans who are like, please, for the love of God, do anything else. I get it, but I've also seen, and I've been saying this the whole cycle, like Jalen Walker, Nick Eman are so hard for me to do with these. And I like the pure talent of Walker. He's a top 5 player on my board. Eman I'm a little bit more lukewarm on, but it's going to take the right DC. If they just go to a defense that says line up in this one spot, you play X position, go. Then I'm worried about the prospects of their long term. But that being said, we just saw Jero Evero a couple years ago utilizing Frankie Luvu as this crazy off-ball hybrid. So could he do the same thing with Jalen Walker? I think he could. So I was thinking about that this morning at the gym too. This is when I get my opportunity to kind of clear my mind and think about some stuff, think about fits. But that's my case for Jalen Walker. This is basically just Frankie Luvu just restarted. But I'm going to go Ted McMillan here. I think you're spot on. And also, like, how funny would it be a receiver room of a yoked up Xavier Legette, power slot Jalen Coker, 6'4" Ted McMillan catching passes from one of the smallest quarterbacks we've ever seen. So I love the dichotomy there. So I'm going to go with Ted McMillan here today.
I think that's a scenario to me where I think you could still build a draft plan around it. You go, okay, we got this number 1 premier weapon that we've been thinking about, and he fell to us, right? They got 8 more picks in the draft. Spend all 8 of them on defense. I don't care. That's fine. Spend the next 8 picks all on defense. Go quantity over quality. Build a unit. But to get a guy like McMillan, especially we talked again about hauling in off-target throws and what that can do to help a quarterback and make a quarterback's life easier, especially if Legette develops a little more. Coker's good, still reliable. Adam Thielen there. I think and plus you have Chuba and Dowdle in the backfield. That looks like a pretty darn good offense all of a sudden. And I know they got to work on defense, but they're not going to be the best defense in football overnight anyway. Deal with that this offseason, this draft, and then the next offseason too. And I think you really got something as long as Bryce Young keeps that confidence from late in the season.
I totally agree. And it's one of those things where, like, if they pulled a page out of their NFC South rival Atlanta's playbook and drafted 3 guys on day 3 that were all on the defensive line in this year's class, I'm feeling pretty good about that. You draft 2 edges, one of the second, one of the third. I think your hit rate there is pretty solid. You're at least one of those 2 guys going to be a solid contributor for you. So I agree with it there. Not nearly as much receiver depth as we get. There's some good guys, but I don't think you're going to find the guy like your point is. If you get that number 1 in the room, everything falls into place for this offense, and hopefully that's Ted McMillan. What do you want to do here with the Saints at 9?
This is tough. I've been leaning mostly trenches for the Saints, whether that be an offensive or a defensive lineman. I think there's a chance here also in these next 5-6 picks, or really 5 picks, that we could get a run of offensive linemen. I also wonder if this is maybe a trade down spot and the Saints try to pick up a couple more picks. They've got 8 picks in this draft, 4 of them in the top 100, but they've got a lot of issues. They got problems in the trenches. They were last in the league in pass blocking grade. They were, I believe, bottom 5 in pass rush grade. So there's not a lot of bad options here. I don't think they're going secondary with somebody like Will Johnson or Jahdae Barron. I think they're going to ride Kool-Aid McKinstry and Alontae Taylor and those young kids. I'm wondering in Brandon Staley's defense, would they consider Jalen Walker here, and if that's a good fit?
I think that's interesting. You do bring back Chase Young, and this can be more stand-up rushing for Young. Most of the time in his career, he's been hand in the dirt. So I do wonder what meat on the bone has maybe been left off there.
Oh, and they still have Carl Granderson too, don't they?
Yeah, and Cam Jordan. That guy will never retire.
True. Yeah, he's just going to stick around forever. I mean, they need help. If Mason Graham was here, it'd be the easy pick, but he ain't getting here.
Could I lobby you for an Armand Membu move Trevor Penning to guard move here?
Yeah, I was thinking either Membu you could slide in at right tackle, or you could draft Will Campbell and you could move Talisi Fuaga back to his natural right tackle spot where he played in college. So I think the debate here is which one of those two in that scenario do we think would go first? Because I think either one would be a good pick. I think Campbell would fit in. Moving Fuaga back over, I think, would make him a little more comfortable. And Fuaga didn't have a bad rookie season. He was decent last year. Obviously, he's a good run blocker. But to get him in his natural spot, just like Tennessee's going to do now with J.C. Latham, right? I think there is there's some benefit to that too. I think so. That's the question. Is I think Kellen Moore, Mickey Loomis. Flip a coin between these two. Which one between those two do you think would like better and would be higher regarded right now in this scenario? You know,
this is just a joke. Just to preface this, somebody's going to comment and be like, "That's not how the cap works." You know, they're strapped for money right now. Low moving cost and Will Campbell sounds pretty appealing, right? Like, get that guy right on over here. Doug Nussmeier too. Like, come on now, you gotta love that. You just watched the guy blocking for his kid. Come on now, he's well versed in the Will Campbell tape.
That's true, and you're gonna get conspiracies next year about Garrett. Right, that'll be fun.
Yep.
You might make a good point there. Let's for the LSU connection go with Campbell, and I'm gonna go with the theory. One of two things will happen: either A, they feel comfortable. Maybe Campbell's the one who plays left guard. We've heard about the arm length arguments with him. Or B, he's the left tackle. Fuaga's the right tackle, move him back to his college spot, and then we start getting rolling on this offensive line. Because to me, the Saints have to take a long-term approach with this draft, build in the trenches. It's been really bad on both sides the last couple of years. Go that route. Will Campbell, I think, is still a pretty safe pick. I know there's concerns about arm length, but you could easily argue he's the best overall offensive lineman in this draft, no matter where you put him.
Yeah, no, I'm in full agree. I also think that Mickey Loomis might not be able to resist Jamar Stewart. Like these edgy, these edge with tons of traits and explosiveness and upside. Like Mickey Loomis might not be able to resist hitting that button again. But I'm with you. And ultimately, Nick Saldiveri, I live in Virginia. I love to see an ODU Monarch in the league, but he's the odd man out. And basically what we're doing here is Campbell taking his spot 1 for 1, or is it some shuffling around? Is it Penning kind of playing left guard for that? So either way, I think we kind of solved that problem there for the Saints. And I think you're right. Long-term approach here, that's the best thing they could do. Then we get to the Bears, dude. And like I said, I think this is, if GT gets here, I think they've eaten their vegetables enough to where they're going to go out there and they're going to go get some McDonald's, and that's going to be Ashton GT. Actually, I don't know. Is McDonald's good enough? I don't know. GT's too good for McDonald's comparisons. So.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, you gotta upgrade to at least like for me, like Popeyes or something. Like you gotta upgrade from McDonald's a little bit.
Okay, yeah. Chick-fil-A. What's the best fast food out there? What about, do we call them, what's the chili place up in Skyline Chili?
Skyline, dude, Skyline's A+, man. I had it yesterday.
Okay.
I'm telling you. It's fantastic. Skyline, I'm addicted to it. I'm not even from Cincinnati, and I'm addicted to it. I'm telling you right now.
I think that's ultimately how it plays. I feel like people who are from Cincinnati are like Skyline sucks, and then people who come to Cincinnati, they're like, this place is kind of awesome. So that's always
it's hit or miss. It's always a love-hate thing with them.
Totally. Oh, man. So then we get to the Bears here. And again, if GT's here, I don't hate it, but ultimately I would just rather take Quinshaw Judkins or Caleb Johnson at 39. Like, to me, I'd rather get a guy here at 10 that is not a running back and then go get one of those round 2 guys. It just comes down to what I want to do. I'm telling you, I don't think left tackle's out of the equation here. Kelvin Banks was like, I don't know. I just think about Ben Johnson coming over, and I just don't know how he's going to feel about Braxton Jones, because I feel like I'm always talking about Braxton Jones as he's good for a 5th-round pick. But if I have to include that second half of the sentence, are you really that good? So I almost wonder, like, hey, we've got the interior fix. Let's go ahead and finish the job as we get a left tackle. Is it Josh Simmons? Is it Kelvin Banks?
Can I throw some grades at you for Braxton Jones, though? I'm a fan of Braxton Jones. I think the athleticism would play in this offense. Okay. 77.4 overall grade last year, 21st among all tackles. I think, and again, good for a 5th-round pick is one thing, but a 77.4 is plenty good enough to start for you, along with Darnell Wright being just ahead of him at 16th. I would go, if it's not Ashton Ginty here, I think they're going to look at defensive line. I think the 5 that they have right now of Jones, Tooney, Dahlman, who I absolutely love, Jackson, and Wright, I think that's your 5. I don't think they're going offensive line with this pick. I think they're going to be darn well set, especially if they look at the analytics, if they use PFF Ultimate at all, maybe. I think they'll be set with their 5 on the offensive line. I like Braxton Jones. I think he's very athletic. I think he can do the things necessary for Ben Johnson's offense. I would go D-line here if it's not if Genty's on the board. I'd probably take him. I'll be honest with the way that.
Yeah, and I get it, and I totally hear you. Hey, I will say Coleman Shelton almost graded out as a 70 overall center, and a lot of Bears fans tell me he's pretty bad too. So, but I will say, again, respect to PFF and what you guys do. I'm not the one doing the process. So who am I to say? You know what? In that point, let's go Shamar Stewart. I'm a big Shamar Stewart guy. I think there's a lot of upside there. And again, I know it's Mickey Loomis who is pulling the trigger on that, but I can see where Dennis Allen's kind of looking at Shamar Stewart, and they're like, a lot of different things I could do with this guy. And whether it's, folding him inside on passing downs, playing him on the edge. I mean, think about that run stopping tandem on early downs. Him and Montez Sweat. I mean, good luck. So I like that a good bit. I'm going to go Shamar Stewart here at 10. And I know you're not as high on him as I am. He's the number 10 player on my big board actually at the moment. So this is perfect value. But that being said, he's going to be one of these guys that no matter where the media thinks, I think he's going to go pretty high in the draft just because I feel like he's just one of those guys. He's got those tools, got those traits. The D-line coach somewhere is going to be like, yo, give me that dude. Now, honestly, I think San Francisco at 11, Chris Karusik, great defensive line coach at San Francisco. He could be a guy who's pounding the table for Stewart too. So, but instead he goes here at 10 in Chicago.
The ability, the tools, and the floor he gives you, I think, especially in run defense, it's something that the Bears had issue with last year off the edge in run defense. I think at least he gives you that, and if you could develop him further as a pass rusher, then you got a real player there. Do I have him a little lower in my edge rankings for what he is right now? Yes, but the tools, the run defense, and the potential is undeniable. I do think that would be a very likely pick if Ginty was off the board. I'm with you.
Yeah. All right. What do you want to do here with the 49ers? I have a feeling I know where you want to go, but I don't want to jump ahead of it too much.
There's two guys here that stand out to me. I think they're both great scheme fits. I think they'd both be a great choice for this team. I'm a fan of rebuilding this offensive line for San Francisco. You're going to sign Brock Purdy to a contract extension. You have to protect him. You have to get this run blocking better. Trent Williams is locked in for as long as he wants to be, as long as he keeps playing the way he is, because he's still elite. He might play till he's 45 like Tom Brady. But Dominic Puni at right guard's a fantastic player who had a great rookie year. But you got three other spots that I think could be improved. So the question here for me is it Armand Membu or is it Kelvin Banks? They're both great scheme fits. Ran a ton of outside zone at Missouri and Texas, respectively. Membu, is obviously the hot name right now. Do we think Membu could go ahead of Banks and just plug in and play right tackle for the 49ers? Or would it be Banks and he would essentially do the same thing until maybe Trent Williams retires, whenever that might be? I think they're both great fits. It feels like the noise. I have Banks one spot higher in my rankings. Sure. It feels like the noise, though, leans toward Membu. So I'm going to go with between the scheme fit, I think the improvement that could be had at right tackle, the long-term approach of a kid that's only going to be 21 years old. And again, what he got to do at Missouri is exactly what Kyle Shanahan's going to ask him to do. And to have Membu next to Dominic Puni on that right side, I think would be fantastic. I'll go Membu here at 11.
Yeah, and that's where, you can't go wrong. And right now, Membu is my tackle one, but I have not given up hope in Kelvin Banks. There's nothing on his tape that I get the guard tackle. I mean, sure. And in this spot specifically, if you wanted to play him at left guard and run stretch left every single run play of the game, I'd fully endorse it, dude. Banks and Trent Williams mauling dudes over, sign me up for that. Pump it into my veins. But that being said, I just don't see anything in his tape that says this guy needs to move into guard. I think if you're doing that, it's just because you got a guy there or you're moving to right tackle. That being said, the same is true on the right side. Stretch right, Membu and Puni just feeding families. I love it. So it feels like one of those spots where if you're the 49ers, it's Stewart, it's Membu, or it's Kelvin Banks. You really can't go wrong. They all make sense. That takes us to Cowboys here at 12. This would have been a great spot for, honestly, Membu. I'm not a big Terrence Steele guy. I think this would have been a great spot for Ted McMillan as well.
Shamar Stewart. Trevor's been getting on the Shamar Stewart match with Dallas, too. I really like it, but he's not here. I think that would be a very a solid pick for them here at 12. Whoa. And I think this is tough. I think there's two guys I gravitate here towards for you. I don't know. I don't know if you're in the same boat, but
I had dude. I think the first time I did Shamar to Dallas, I got destroyed. I think it was late October, and it was just because Tank Lawrence, if he leaves, this is a guy I think could totally fill that role. At least from the run defense standpoint, this guy could fill that void of then a D line that's it's Micah Parsons and. But you do have Marshawn Nealon, and it comes down to how you feel about him coming out too. But I'm fully here for it. Like I said, I was mocking it back in October, so if it happens, I get to take a small victory lap. Oh man, dude! And the other tough part is here, evaluating what Matt Eberflus would want to do. There's part of me that wants to go Will Johnson, but do I want to just sit Will Johnson in cover two? Not really. This is a tricky. I do feel like Matthew Golden has kind of become the trendy Cowboys pick of late. Jahad Campbell's another fun one.
I think for me, and I know there's a little trauma, current and even past trauma that comes with the second name I'm going to say here, but I think the two guys that I would think about here are Campbell and Kenneth Grant. I don't think the Cowboys did anything in run defense or in free agency to help their run defense.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And Kenneth Grant, I hope that they don't get, because to me, there are some similarities. Mozzie was a good athlete, and he was a good runner, but still, I don't see them nearly the same. So that's just one of the things where you see the school jersey, you see the maize and blue, and you're like, it's the same guy, and it's really not. So, dude, I don't hate that at all. And you know what? I might do it just for the sole fact of forcing me to do something different with the Cardinals at 16. Because anytime Kenneth Grant's there at 16, it's like an automatic move for me, it feels like.
I mean, your linebackers right now for the Cowboys are Maris Leofau. We don't know if DeMarvion Overshown's how quickly he's coming back from a pretty bad knee injury. And then Jack Sanborn, Kenneth Murray. I don't see any solutions there, really, to be honest.
Isn't Campbell just like Kenneth Murray, but with it's like you're kind of hitting restart on it, last checkpoint. You're almost just kind of beginning that window again. I'll go Jahad Campbell. That's what I did last week with Renner. And, the only thing that concerns me is Matt, and I have to go back into Matt Eberflus and what he really does with his linebackers, but does he want to blitz those guys a lot? Because, to me, you're leaving meat on the bone if you're not going to use Campbell as an edge rusher there, or at least a pass rusher in some sort. So I totally agree with you. What were you saying? Sorry.
He's certainly not a heavy blitzer. That's for sure. He's not.
That's the one downside. But that being said, sometimes that comes down to your personnel too. Like, did you have the dogs to run that race? So I would Jahad Campbell here. I was a big DeMarvion Overshown guy, but you're right. One, don't know when he's coming back, and two, don't know if he's going to come back the same. And I hate to say that, but it was a crazy big knee injury there. So don't want to get too ahead of myself there. So I'll go Jahad Campbell at 12 plus, huge combine showing. He feels like a name that's definitely rising up boards now. So let's go Campbell at 12.
I think it makes a lot of sense. Help your run defense one way or the other. That's where I'd be at for Dallas at 12. Unless if Tet did fall to 12, I'd think about it. If Ginty fell to – I don't think they're going Ginty actually was signing – I know there's small signings, but Javonte and what was the other back? Miles Sanders. It seems like they might go running back later anyway, even if Ginty's on the board. Help this run defense, please. I mean, that's where we're at here.
I think, kind of like what Max says all the time, like – the Jags' big board starts at Travis Hunter with number 1. I think in a perfect world, Dallas is looking at Will Campbell. Like, that's your Zach Martin replacement. Plug that guy in. Don't think twice about it. Or, like you said, Tet McMillan. Like, hey, let's go get an outside guy, pair him up with CeeDee Lamb, and let's give Dak an opportunity with his receivers. So I'm fully with you there. But Campbell's not a bad get either.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Miami at third. This is easy. I'll make it quick. It's Kelvin Banks. It's no question. It's Kelvin Banks. If they believe he's a tackle and they're operating under the assumption that Teron Armstead will not be back, put him in at left tackle. If they believe in him as a guard and it's Teron Armstead coming back, or if they want to play Patrick Paul and start him, then put Kelvin Banks at left guard. Do whatever you want to do. But between the pass protection and the outside zone blocking,
right,
I think this is a dream for Miami. This is a perfect fit. This is what Mike McDaniel needs. They need improvement on the offensive line or they will not get anywhere. It just doesn't matter. They were not good enough in the trenches on either side of the ball last year. I was worried about it coming into the season. It ended up hurting them. You have a quarterback that has only made it through 17 games in a year one time in his career. Tua gets hurt a lot. They need pass protection, especially in the drop back game. They need outside zone blocking. I think Kelvin Banks is an easy slam dunk pick here.
No, I'm with you there. Great scheme fit, dual flexibility, position flexibility. Yeah, you can't knock that pick whatsoever. Colts here at 14. I mean, I know they brought in Charvarius Ward, but I feel like you almost got to go Will Johnson here. I feel like if I'm Lou Anarumo, and ultimately it's not his decision to make for sure, but what failed you in Cincinnati? You just didn't have what you needed, especially on the back end. It felt like really from a pass rush standpoint for guys other than Trey Hendrickson, I felt like they were lacking there too, but just never felt like they got that corner room settled. So you bring in Bynum, you bring in Ward. I think adding Will Johnson to that mix just really solidifies the work you've done there. I was a big Juju Brents fan. You still got Kenny Moore, so you don't have to go corner here. Colston Loveland would be a lot of fun too. Like, don't get me wrong, that would be pretty exciting. They also have Grover Stewart there for 2 more years under contract. I don't rule out Kenneth Grant here either.
I think would they think about a Colston Loveland? Would they think about, Will Johnson? I do think he's a top 10 talent. Do the injuries knock him back to the back of the first round a little bit? Could they go Jahdae Barron here instead of Will Johnson? And, eventually when Kenny Moore, when his contract is up, you could move Barron inside. He's got inside-outside flexibility too. I think Malachi Starks, honestly, would be on the board here as well. You talk about Cam Bynum was a nice signing, absolutely, but him and Nick Cross kind of both grade a little bit higher in run defense. And if you want that flexible zone coverage safety who's really going to excel on the back end, especially in those deep halves that Lou Anarumo likes to use, I think Starks would fit in their defense next to Bynum. You make Cross more of a depth guy. So there's a lot of different directions you could go here to make the Colts better. I think if Jahad Campbell was on the board here too, I would think about that as well.
That would be a great consideration. I think Malachi Starks, and I mean, of course, I'm not making the pick 13 picks in advance, but the Ravens need a free safety. He would be the pick that scares. I'm a Steelers fan, so that's the pick that kind of scares me the most. It's oh God, now they got their free safety. Now Kyle Hamilton's back in the box. Oh Lord, I'm going to go Malachi Starks here, and especially when you look at the measurables, they're pretty close to Jesse Bates, and I feel like at this point, it's like the Wolverine old meme when he's looking at it, and I feel like Lou Anarumo is just looking at a picture of Jesse Bates, just longing for the days of when he had that guy just to take away some of those plays. And let's go Malachi Starks. I'm with you. And plus Bynum, former corner, he can move all around, dude. So bringing it into Starks doesn't limit what you're doing with Bynum. So, no, I like that a ton.
Absolutely. All right, Atlanta here.
Could I plead a pick for you?
Absolutely.
As much as I would love to see them go corner here, don't get me wrong. Or, sorry, edge. Could I ask you to go corner? Specifically, I feel like, Will Johnson, he's still currently my top corner other than Travis Hunter. But Jahdae Barron, in that zone-heavy Raheem Morris defense, you could also play some nickel, and then you come back, what's their second-round pick? At 46, you take Braden Swinson. Tell me that is not an awesome one.
It's funny on the show. I think was it with Trevor, with one of either Trevor or Max. I mentioned that I think earlier where Raheem Morris loves his stand-up edge rushers, and Swinson would make a lot of sense in round 2 as long as you let him get there. I think those are the two things. It's edge rusher because they had the second worst pass rush grade in football, or it's a CB2 across from AJ Terrell, and especially one that can play zone coverage as well as Jahdae Barron can. I think it would be a real decision. I was probably maybe 60 or 70% locked in on an edge rusher, but corner is absolutely a possibility. I think Raheem Morris would love Jahdae Barron. I'll fine. You win that one.
Let's go.
We'll plead the pick in. Jahdae Barron to the Falcons. You're filling out a pretty darn good secondary all of a sudden.
Dude, the ball skills between him and Terrell, and plus, I'd love to get your take on this too. And I hate to make the mock draft, the guest of the mock draft, do a pick that I wanted. So feel free if you need me to do something. I'm totally happy to trade that pick back. But dude, I love that fit. So much zone heavy defense, and I get it, sub 30-inch arms. But me personally, I think in about 5 years' time, and I want to hear your take on this, quote unquote hot take, clip it out. I think in about 5 years, we're gonna be looking at the corner position as the cornerstone of what makes it go round. Too hot of a take? Where do you stand on that? Do you think it's still gonna be boundary corner, edge? What do we think about that?
Of the entire defense you're talking?
I think you're gonna look, I think in about 5, maybe it's 10 years, I think you're gonna look at need a guy at corner with how much too high shells become prevalent, how much flexibility you get out of that guy. I really think it's going to become, and I mean, some of it comes down to if you're the Browns, you have Myles Garrett. That's your cornerstone piece. It ends at that. So it's hard to say that universally, but I think as a whole, I think we're going to start looking at that position as you need to have a guy there that you can trust, you can rely on.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I don't know if you would call it number one on the list, but I think you're even seeing now, especially with the contract that Derek Stingley just signed, right? It's equally important. They talk about the front being married to the back, right? And having those guys. We talk about 1,000,007 freaks every year at receiver, and we only talk about maybe 5 or 6 guys at corner. The athletes have to catch up, right? It has to catch up. You have to value those guys, even if you don't play man-to-man coverage. And that's the fun part with a guy like Jahdae Barron. Played a boatload of zone coverage at Texas. And he was best zone cover corner in the country. I mean, that just straight up, even better than Travis Hunter was this past year, which says a whole lot because Hunter is obviously elite. You're talking about, it's so much as thought of great corners are those guys like Darrelle Revis who just lock him up one-on-one. Well, playing man coverage across the board every play is dangerous. If you have a guy like Barron who can add that to your team, can add that zone coverage ability, he's just as valuable. So I'm glad to see the salaries are going to start catching up to the receiver salaries, and even, along the defensive line, what Myles Garrett just got, that's, and Micah Parsons and guys like that are going to get. But I think it's extremely valuable. And over the past few years, it feels like we've kind of forgotten about it. It's starting to catch up now because the Sauce Gardners, the Derek Stingleys, look, drafting Trent McDuffie out of the Tyreek Hill trade is one of the main reasons the Chiefs won those 2 Super Bowls and went to a third one lately. So I think that building in the secondary is becoming more and more prevalent when you have the league throwing the ball 60 to 65% of the time.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm just specifically that slot corner, man. I think I did a video back on my own personal channel. This was a couple years ago. But using Devin Witherspoon, Brian Branch, and Trent McDuffie as the examples, and you look at the EPA per play before and after their arrivals and what they did for that defense, not only from a coverage standpoint, but in run defense, it's hard to put a price tag on that. And eventually they will have to, right? So that's going to be interesting too, right? You're a slot corner. I wonder what these contract negotiations start to look like too. But man, I think that's going to become a position that, the more too high you play, and it's actually Terry Fontenot, I think a couple of years ago at the Combine was we run nickel about 70% of the time. Nickel's the new base. So specifically for the Falcons, I could see where he's hey, Barron, play him in the slot. We see the value in that. So maybe I'm too ahead of myself. Maybe I'm hyping up the nickel spot too much. But I seriously think it's become that spot that you're need a dude there. And I almost wonder down the line, does it become something where you're hey, we have an awesome outside corner, but we could also utilize that guy in the slot, like a Devin Witherspoon. I almost wonder if that becomes a conversation down the line too. Sorry.
Okay, you need to look no further than Philadelphia winning the Super Bowl this year. They took Quinyon Mitchell, and they took Quinyon Mitchell ahead of him with their first pick, so they had the luxury of playing DeJean inside. Yep. The Eagles, of course, Howie Roseman's the model for everything nowadays, but I think even we talk about the trenches a lot, but what he did with those first 2 picks in the secondary said, look, the Eagles last year were dead last in slot coverage grade. They moved all the way up to 3rd, just getting DeJean in there this year. It's crazy. He was as big a reason as anybody on that team that they won that Super Bowl.
Totally agree. All right, getting this back on track. Sorry, I had to talk some nickel there. Oh, man, the Cardinals. And I did it again. I left Kenneth Grant on the board. I know they brought in Dalvin Tomlinson, but he feels like the exact defensive interior that gets signed right before he becomes immediately expendable. You know what I mean? There's a couple guys that always get signed, and it's you're signing him to get rid of them. But you're doing your due diligence free agency. You're not trying to leave a hole in the roster to where you have to draft a guy there. I do almost wonder, Kenneth Grant, man, like, do you just pull the trigger there? Josh Simmons can move him over to right tackle. Will Johnson also hard to pass on here too.
I was just gonna say, thoughts on Will Johnson.
Let's go Will Johnson. I also haven't done that, I think, only once in a mock. So let's do some different possibilities here. We're exploring outcomes here. So I'll go Will Johnson at 16.
I like that a lot. They need help on the outside. Garrett Williams is one of the more underrated nickel corners as well. I like what they have at safety. Buda Baker, Dadrian Taylor Demerson is someone I really like. But outside at corner, they could use some help. But I think Will Johnson would be absolutely perfect in their defense. Yeah,
100%. And Gannon, a lot of zone in that. It feels like it's cover one man or it's quarters. It feels like what he bounces back and forth between. And Will Johnson, I think, checks the box for both of those.
All right.
What do you want to do with Cincy? Your hometown Bengal.
So I would have actually considered one of those two corners here. I know people have been going D-line a lot with them, but I would have considered it. But I think D-line is now the obvious pick. Is it a Kenneth Grant? Is it a Walter Nolan? I'm trying to think about maybe what Al Golden would like in his defense too. Are we keeping Trey Hendrickson? Are we not? If they trade Trey Hendrickson, this is without a doubt an edge player.
Dalton, you might be the best co-host that I could have ever worked with. I had to ask one FAU legend about another FAU legend, and I want to build that into the mock here because I think Hendrickson, if he gets traded, it's a 2 and a 5. And I think it's either going to be Washington or Detroit. So I kind of want to do that in the back half of this mock. If we think Hendrickson gets dealt, let's do that trade here and get those teams that extra second-round pick. Okay. But what do you think? Right. Hey, you're close to the center of gravity here. Is he staying? Is he gone? To me, it feels like it's hard to pay all, Higgins, Chase, and Hendrickson. I think he's out, but let me hear what you're hearing.
The talks over the past week since they signed Higgins and Chase on the offensive side are that they are trying very hard to retain Hendrickson.
Okay.
So the momentum right now, the momentum right now might be on him staying and trying to build around him as the core piece. Now, you have to nail this draft if you're going to have 4 guys taking up half your salary cap. That's true. But Hendrickson has proven he's well worth that, right? So the talk lately has been they are trying very hard to retain him.
Well,
for now, I think we're going to keep him. Now, this doesn't mean I don't have to take an edge player,
right?
But it does mean I have a little more flexibility. Now, Jahad Campbell would be a thought. He's off the board. I don't think there's an interior lineman for the Bengals I would take here this high. So I think it's either an edge player. If the off-field stuff checks out with Mike Green, I like that pick a lot. Or it could be a Kenneth Grant or a Walter Nolan. I have a tough time reading right now what Al Golden might want in this defense. But I think you do, regardless of how he wants. He's got a hole on that edge right now on the other side. Yeah. I'm going to go with Mike Green here. I think he's if the off-field stuff checks out, I think he's a top 12 to 15 talent. He's a freak. He's got the power, the speed, the bend, makes impact plays on the ball and run defense, and that might be a big tiebreaker for me. I like James Pierce Jr. He got a lot better in run defense this past season, absolutely, but it was in a more fundamentally sound way. I think they do still need, along with the pass rushing that Mike Green can give you, an impact playmaker in run defense, because Trey Hendrickson, okay run defender, not an elite guy. You pay him to rush the passer. You get a two-way guy like Mike Green in there, again, as long as everything checks out, I think it'd be a great compliment to him.
Yeah, and I mean, with Pierce and Green, I do wonder if Jermaine Burton is living in the back of their head. Like, you don't want to mess with the off-field. Like, don't deal with it. Granted, 2 very different situations, 2 very different players, 2 very different positions. So, like, it's hard to do that. But I do wonder if that ever just lives in the back of their head where they're like, I'd rather not. But I totally agree. Mike Green actually, I'm kind of surprised by this looking back at it. But he's 16 on my big board, but right behind, Jahdae Barron and Amarian Hampton, Armand Membu, Colston Loveland, some great players. So, like, he's right there in the thick of it. You pretty much nailed the value here. And I'm cool with him. I'm cool with James Pierce. Talking about Al Golden, like, I think back to Notre Dame, especially in the college football playoff, no Riley Mills, how much they utilize stunts and twists. And I do wonder if Walter Nolan is the guy then, just with how well he can move. Kenneth Grant, for that matter, too. That guy moves way better than someone who's 330 pounds, official weight from his pro day. I think both those guys are options. But to that same point, dude, Mike Green running across a guard's face, good luck. Like, I don't know how you stop that. So I think they're all, to answer your question, the answer is yes. Like, just roll some dice and see whichever one you land on. Oh, man, let me get to Seattle here at 18. I have been thinking about this. As much as the chalky pick lately has been Nicky Manwari. And I get it. Like, it's Kyle Hamilton who actually graded well or tested well at the combine. There's a lot of similarities there. I'll be honest. Again, let me go back to the big board. I saw a second-round player with Manwari, but he's a crazy athlete, so he's going to go higher than that. So
I have a thought here. I'm gonna. It's not my pick. This other team, but this is something I've been having theories about the entire way.
Well, I wonder if it's the team I was going with. Okay, let's see.
There's two different teams. I'm trying to see. There's two different teams I think about here. I'm going to go with my gut instinct, and it's your pick. It's an even number, so I'm going to see what you think.
Hey, I owe you one, so if you really want to go that direction, I'm totally fine with it. Oh, to finish up the Nick Eman point, if he goes here at 18, it's one of these spots where it's like you're going to a great DC. I can have confidence in Mike McDonald. If he just goes to Buffalo and like not to throw Sean McDermott under the bus, but if he's just playing split high safety, it's like, are you really getting the most out of Eman there? I don't know, but like Mike McDonald, I can trust he's going to get the most out of that. Let me tell you who I was thinking about here, and then I want to hear your thoughts. I'm going to go Matthew Golden. And I don't necessarily know why. I know they just brought in Cooper Kupp and everything, but I do wonder if they're missing that speed element in the offense. Now, again, going back to what we write down in our notes versus what we see in Combine. I've said this multiple times on the channel now. I wrote down 4.48. And, maybe there's room for where he's 4.45, 4.44, something like that. But I wrote down 4.48. That's kind of what I saw on tape. Repositions himself really well in the air, sharp route runner, does a lot of those things well. But I did not see 4.29. But I do wonder. I'm going to go Matthew Golden here at 18, unless you can talk me out of it. But I do wonder if they're like, hey, that's the speed guy. We need to open up a JSN and open up a Cooper Kupp. But let me hear your thoughts on that, plus what you're thinking here with Seattle.
All right. I may propose a trade with the next pick then. Okay, so I'm actually with you here. If it's Golden or if it's Burden, I think Burden would give them a dimension that they don't have in the core right now. Sure. If they do stay at 18, I would go receiver. I'm with you on this. I would let that fly. Whether it's Golden or Burden, I might prefer Burden slightly to Golden, but it's a matter of preference. And every team's got something different. Golden's a hot name. Ran a 4.29 for what they want to do. I think either player works with Clint Kubiak wanting to take those deep shots down the field. I think it makes a ton of sense if they do stay at 18, which I think there's still a possibility that could be a trade up spot for a couple other teams.
Yeah, totally. That's the John Snyder too.
I think receiver would be the right move there. Because I think them picking twice in the second round and twice in the third round, it's such a sweet spot for interior offensive line. And we might talk about Seattle trying to get a certain one in a little bit here.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I have Burden ranked higher, but if you add Burden, he's probably going to be a slot guy. You already have JSN. You already have Cooper. It's like, how many of these guys can play on the inside? So I almost wonder if that helps in the conversation. And again, this is more predictive than my ranking. So again, I have Burden higher, but if we're going predictive, Golden's the hot name right now. Todd McShay made him receiver one, so everyone wants to make him their receiver one now. Glad to see Todd's back in the space. I'm not trying to throw him under a bus, but I do. And again, like those first 2 weeks in New Orleans, think about those Rashid Shaheed touchdowns, and just imagine Matthew Gold. I almost wonder if that's exactly what he steps into. But the exact mind here for 19.
Okay, so I'm going to propose a trade down here.
Let's do it.
I want to see what it would take, and you have the chart up. What it would take. I want to trade with the Rams here.
Oh, let's do it. Colston Loveland to the Rams. Let's do it. Oh,
that's what we're doing. And we keep in mind, I keep going back to this. Sean McVay wanted Brock Bowers last year. He tried. He tried his damnedest to get him, and he didn't. He wasn't able. I think it was with the Jets that he was negotiating with to try to do it, and he just couldn't make it happen. I think he will. I'm riding this conspiracy. I've had the tinfoil hat on for a year, riding this conspiracy. I'm going to try to do it. The Bucs can still get a player that they like at 26. They only have 6 picks. Let's get a few more picks in here. Let's build a trade with the Rams here at 19.
So what do you think? I'm looking at Draft Tech. It would be about 26.90, and then maybe throw in the 195 from Pittsburgh. They're about. And like you said, for Tampa Bay, 6 picks in the entire draft to get 2 more added into that mix. I think you're pumped up about that. You cool with this, or do I feel like
Lesney doesn't need all them picks? Let's go for it.
And if we're honest, I just gave him 235 back. He'll move down from 101, 127, 190, and he'll just stockpile the greatest 6th round you've ever seen in your entire life. So Let's force this trade. I have loved when you guys have talked about this, and I think it brings up an interesting conversation just about the tight ends. I have Warren ranked higher than Loveland, so his grade technically is closer to Bowers than Loveland. But play style wise, Loveland is much more of that, pseudo slot receiver, shifty, great route runner, middle of the field guy. And I mean, Warren does a lot of that stuff too. Don't get me wrong. Warren's an alien. But like one's baby Gronk, one's baby Bowers. And like you're happy with either one. But dude, for a Sean McVay offense, his route running, word.
He's so fluid. It's unreal. He's so fluid from anywhere. I mean, you could even see it at Michigan last year with their awful quarterback situation. He could still line up out there at the X and torch corners on slants 100%. And things like that. He's so darn fluid. I think McVay wants the star tight end. I'm going with I've been on this, and you had to get ahead of Denver because I think Denver very well could have taken him. I know they just signed Evan Ingram, but I don't think Sean Payton would have been against it.
Yeah, no, I'm with you 100% there. That is a great fit. And I mean, just imagine going from that quarterback situation in Michigan to Matthew Stafford for, a year or two, whatever it ends up being. I mean, God, it doesn't get better than that. Plus, living in Michigan to living in LA, I mean, goodness gracious, what a win there for Colston Loveland. Broncos here at 20. I've let Jalen Walker slide, and I do wonder if that could ultimately be a guy here. I feel like Vance Joseph's one of those DCs I could trust to utilize him, especially as a pass rusher if he is playing some off ball. Plus, this is the guy. This is the organization they traded not Nick Benito, but Baron Browning, awful linebacker, edge hybrid. They did trade him, but they also drafted him, and then Benito a little undersized too. Or you go Burden here. Like Burden that's tough for me to pass, and I feel like I do this every week. And as much as Hampton would make sense too, for the Joker that Sean Payton's describing, I almost wonder if that's more Travion Henderson than Amari Hampton, which don't get me wrong, Hampton, number 15 player on my board, RB2, would be a slam dunk RB1 just about any other year. And he's a great pass catcher and he's a great run blocker or pass blocker. But I wonder if that pass catching upside with Henderson's a little bit higher. I wonder if that's maybe the Joker that he's talking about. What do you think here, Burden or Hampton? I defer to you here.
I would go Burden. In that scenario, I'd go Burden for sure. I think to add the after the catch element that right. You would want, especially with the kind of rhythm and timing conservative passing game you have with Bo Nix. I think Burden with that after catch element. Let's find some backs later, maybe even two of them. Honestly, I think somebody like a Brashard Smith would help their backfield later. On day 3, or I think you mentioned one of those day 2 backs. I think it's possible they could take two of them and just rebuild this whole backfield. Absolutely,
I agree wholeheartedly. And again, trust me, Amari Hampton would be an awesome Joker. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to besmirch the guy, but I do wonder at what cost. Like, what are you then doing at 52? Carson Schwetzinger? And trust me, that would pump me up too. But like Burden plus that back would be pretty sick. Or, dude, Brashard Smith, he's my RB7. I'm a big Brashard Smith guy. I would love that in the 3rd round too. So, yeah, let's go with Burden here. And also, everyone's forgetting about 4.4, 140. Did you guys see the slot fade against South Carolina? This guy can stretch the field from that spot. Yeah. So I would love to see, right, you lull that defense into Bo Nix, Sean Payton, underneath, time up that shot play. I think Luther Burden checks that box too. So I'm fully here for it.
Absolutely.
All right, Dalton, this is all yours. I'm a Steelers fan, but let me just, we're doing this. It's now 4:09. I'm pretty sure Rodgers has left the building without a contract. It was a very impromptu meeting. I'm thinking it's going to be Rodgers in the black and gold next year. And then I think it's going to be Dart here at 21. I think they're going to go Rodgers and then a Dart succession plan, which Dart's my quarterback 4. I don't really love that. But considering the flaws in what I see with Dart, having a succession plan and not forcing him on the field year 1 or maybe not even year 2, that would be the best situation for me to buy into what Dart could potentially be. If he gets out in the field right away, I think it could be rough. But if you give him a year or 2, maybe there's some upside. He's definitely a talented thrower of the football. I just worry about that scheme translation next level. But I just want to get that off my chest. I think it's going to be Rodgers and Dart here. Please give me a reason for hope for the Pittsburgh Steelers here at 21.
I hate this pick. I hate when I have to do this pick at our shows, and I hate this pick because every time I get it with Trevor, I just go, are they taking Jackson Dart? I'm not, I'll be honest with you. I'm with you. I'm not a huge fan, certainly not as a first round pick. I was digging through some numbers on this a couple weeks ago. I see way too many similarities to Sam Howell.
Sure.
That's exact. They're built similarly. They're very reliant on the go ball. It's one read and run. They even analytically, they are almost in the exact same, just a band of numbers. I'm so worried that he is that much like Sam Howell, and that Ole Miss offense is just so designed to isolate those deep shots at almost a 12-yard average depth of target. That's not a thing in the NFL. That's just not a thing. The only guy who had that was Anthony Richardson, and you've seen how that's gone. So I wouldn't. I mean, you're the Steelers fan. You have the pulse. Do you really?
I'm not saying this is what I want. No, definitely not. But
do you think they would do it here? Because I would not. But if we think they would do it, and they're desperate enough to do it,
well, there's something in my stomach saying that's what they'll do. I will say, I know you don't love D-line here, but Kenneth Grant, I could definitely see as an option. I know, again, I know you're not in love with that, but I do think that's like the nose tackle they haven't had in a while. So I do think that's an option. I think Walter Nolan could be in play too.
I think otherwise, offensively, I think Amarion Hampton makes sense. I think Emeka Ibuka would still make sense because you've got Pickens and Metcalf with redundant vertical skill sets.
And then you just move on from Merwin Wilson and say, hey, you know what? It just didn't work out. We'll take a 5th-round pick from somewhere. We'll take the 2-round loss. I could see that being an option too. Let me get your thoughts on this too. Is there any possibility they say, you know what, Broderick Jones, we tried, it just hasn't worked, and they go Josh Simmons or they go Josh Connerly here? Any chance you think they could do that?
No, I think they're going one more.
They're going to go Broderick, and
they're going to move him now. They're going to move him now back to the right side with Troy on the left side. I mean, they've been shuffling it seems like every other week for 2 years. But no, I think they're going to give it one more shot with those two guys as the guys. I don't think they're going O-line here.
Okay. Well, let me hear what you would do, and we can save Dart for the second round, because I'm personally with you. And like I said, this is like 80% predictive. This will be the 20% gray area where we're like, we're not the world's biggest Dart guys.
Let's go Hampton. Let's go Marion Hampton.
Okay.
Because you're sitting on Jalen Warren, who I like a lot. I like Jalen Warren a lot. I don't think he can be your feature back like that. Kenneth Gainwell's a nice, change up, passing down back. I think let's get a horse in there, and I think Hampton is a guy who you still want to run the ball. Arthur Smith still wants to run the ball no matter who his quarterback is. And Hampton, let's be real. First of all, let's talk about him for a second. Yards after contact monster. Not a guy you want to tackle in Pittsburgh in the cold weather. I think that feels like a Pittsburgh Steeler back if they wanted one too. I think, look, maybe wait. If it's Aaron Rodgers, if you want a day 2 quarterback, if you want, I wouldn't stomach taking Jackson Dart this high. I couldn't do it.
Yeah, no, and personally, to me, like the ideal outcome would have been Fields plus Tyler Shuck, which I'm spoiling a little bit of what the QB3, me, voicing that opinion in a little bit is going to be. But, Fields is obviously a Jet. Congratulations. I think that's, especially if they go Membu at 7, that could be a lot of fun, that run game. But, and if it's not that, I'd rather it be Rodgers and Shuck. Like, that would be ideal. But with no second round pick, I don't know if he fully makes it to the third round for us, to be honest with you. But again, I'm higher on Shuck. Hampton, though, would be kind of fun because it's like, what if we did Najee Harris, right? And I think Hampton's a better prospect, but it's like we failed Najee Harris from the rip because that offensive line those first 2 years was abysmal, dude. Like bottom 3 unit in the league, terrible. And then because of that, he lost 2 years of his rookie contract and had a bunch of tread taken off the tires for no reason. At least with Hampton, it's like, dude, friggin' Mason McCormick, I know you lost James Daniels, but Frazier there at center, you're pumped up about that. If Fautanu stays healthy, that's comparatively speaking, it's a whole new offensive line. It's a much brighter unit to look at now versus then. So I don't hate it from that standpoint whatsoever. I also would love corner there, to be honest with you. Like that's one where Jahdae Barron could make it there, and he becomes my Mike Hilton kind of 2.0. Like I would sing the praises of Omar Khan and Andy Weidel. That's the one thing, too, I did want to talk about. That might be the one change, too. Like Andy Weidel coming from Philadelphia, I wonder how much of Omar Khan's ear he has and how much that might be like, we don't take running back in the first round. Like, we don't do that anymore. So just throwing that out there, too. All right. Chargers at 22. I don't think Najee Harris stops you from taking Hampton, but maybe it does. This is a fun team. I'll go Kenneth Grant here. This is like a Poona Ford replacement that they desperately need.
And the Michigan thing, I believe Jim Harbaugh. The quote is "gift from the football gods." Well, he's gonna get the gift the second time. I'm with you on this. You just mentioned Poona Ford, a spectacular season last year, but he's on the other side of LA with the Rams. I'm with you. I think Loveland would be in play here if he was available. I think a receiver like Ibuka would be in play, but Kenneth Grant, it almost feels too obvious with the Michigan thing now.
100%. And I've done Walter Nolan the past couple of mocks. If Grant's off the board, I don't think he's a bad option either. He's more of a 3-tech in the nose, so not directly the Poona Ford replacement. I also think, like, speaking of the Michigan stuff, like they could go edge round 1, but with Mac back, Tuli Tuipulotu, I'm like really cross my fingers they get Josiah Stewart in the third round. Like that to me would that's the DPR that if they got that dude, oh my Lord, I'd be pumped.
I love Josiah. He's so angry. Like he's 6'1", and he knows he's smaller than everybody else out there, but he's so pissed off. And he's so productive, man. Josiah's awesome.
And I got to talk to him at the Senior Bowl, man. He's got the right mindset to it. And he just, as much as he has a pass rush plan, he's also understanding like a lot of this is adaptive, right? Like I can't make a decision until I see what the offensive line is showing me, how he sets it up. But quick processor from that standpoint too. He was a great talk, and I really enjoyed talking to him at the Senior Bowl too. So yeah, please, football gods, let him be a Charger. I would love to see that. All right, I give it to you with the Packers here at 23. As much as I'd love to see them go Jaden Higgins or something like that, a receiver that would be fun, or Emeka Egbuka, I guess, best receiver available. We know Green Bay's not going to do that. So what do you think here?
It's the other two needs we have on the board there. I think about edge. I think about corner. I think about Jeff Hafley's defense, relatively aggressive. We do have a need at corner if we're trading Jair Alexander. I think about Trey Amos. I think about Siobhan Ravel, man-to-man long corners with good size. The other thing I think about though is off the edge and those top two guys that are sitting there. and they're both extremely good. I mean, Pierce is an athlete, an out-of-this-world athlete who needs a little more polish. Ezeraku, the length and just the sequencing of pass rush moves, man, oh man, he's so fun to watch. And there's just a weird thing I keep thinking about is that Jeff Hafley, coming from Boston College, was Ezeraku's head coach. And I know sometimes the connection game can be dangerous to play, but who knows Donovan Ezeraku better than Jeff Hafley, right? And you have a team with an obvious edge need. I'm gonna go back to this. I think it's a fun one. I think it fills a need. I think you have Jeff Hafley getting a guy in there that he knows. I think it's something they need. He's one of the few edge rushers who's been an 80-plus run defense grade as well over the past 3 seasons. He's a well-rounded player, a little bit shorter. I think his lateral quickness, as you saw in the cone drills at the combine, is a little better than his vertical first step. But you talk about a pass rush plan, I almost equate him to like – you get NBA shooters and you talk about taking those heat check threes. Do not let Donovan Ezeraku get hot like in the fourth quarter of games because he will just sequence it over and over with the moves. I think this is the type of pass rusher the Packers need. And the fact that Jeff Hafley's a defensive coordinator, I'm going to continue to tie those two together and see where that gets to. I think it'd be a fantastic pick and a fun one considering that connection.
Yeah, 100%. I think Ezeraku makes a ton of sense. Azaria Thomas, it depends. Is Hafley going to go back to being a man-heavy guy like he was at BC, or is he going to play a lot of zone like he did last year at Green Bay? So that's TBD for me. So in a lot of ways, it's kind of easier to go Ezeraku because regardless of what his philosophy is going to be, Ezeraku fits into that mix. So a couple other guys I wanted to shout out there. Also, like the Nate Hobbs signing is weird to me because he's a slot guy. I like Javon Bullard in the slot, so I'm like wondering what's going to happen with that corner room. Stokes gone. I assume Jair's gone. Like that's a weird team for me to draft in the secondary. Love Ezeraku. Vikings here at 24. This is where I got to stop the slide for my guy Jalen Walker. I know they put eggs in the basket of that front 7, 2 defensive interior guys this year, a couple of edge rushers last year, but I think the best use for Jalen Walker is a little bit of everything. Agent of chaos. Play some off-ball linebacker. Play both edge positions, left and right. Will he, won't he? Sim pressures. All this is Brian Flores. That's the mind games I think you can get with Jalen Walker. So I get it. Where would you go if not Walker here? Any other leans here?
The first thing I would try to do is trade down.
Definitely. Only 4 picks this year. That's the most ideal.
That's number
for someone here. Who do you think would move up?
Ooh.
You can give me a team that would move up to 24. I'm happy to do a trade.
Buffalo Bills. Yeah.
Let's do that. And just
I want Walter Nolan on the Buffalo Bills.
There you go. That's a great fit too. And it's not too expensive to move up to 30-24. Let's go back to the draft tag. Trade charge.
I think the Bills, and it could be even higher than this. It's something I hadn't thought about till this moment. I think the Bills really need to be aggressive in this draft. I think they need to get up and get an impact defensive player that they want. Not whatever falls to them at 30. If I'm Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott, I need to get this defense on a level that somewhat matches my offense and can get us over the top. Josh Allen is not the reason at all that they haven't been to the Super Bowl yet with him. It's their defense, and it's consistently given up 30-plus points in the postseason. I'm trading up here. I want Walter Nolan in Buffalo.
Cool. I'm going to give the Vikings 2 4th-round picks, which I know is not like the world's like sexiest exchange, but to move back 6 spots and then all of a sudden you go from 4 picks to 6 picks, you're feeling better about the depth of what this team could do. Yeah, let's throw Walter Nolan in there. He's my IDL too, and dude, like with his quicks, his ability to stop the run, it's like almost like with how athletic he can be or is. Like at the Senior Bowl, like there were a few reps where somebody was off the line quicker than Walter Nolan. If he was out there, he was one of the first guys off the ball. Him plus Ed Oliver there is like, whoa, fire, like pump that in my veins. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But also just from a run defense standpoint, I think Nolan hides Ed Oliver there too. So kind of works twofold there. I like that a lot. All right. I give it to you for the Texans. Tell me why it's Tyler Booker.
I think there's a chance here it could be Josh Simmons instead.
Okay.
The league is high on
Robinson yesterday, but that's only to what I remember. I think I saw it's just a 1-year deal, right, for Simmons? Or sorry, for Robinson. I beg your pardon.
I think so. I think it's this is tough. This is so tough. And this is another pick. I hate making this pick because it feels like they're backed into a corner. But I also want to throw this back too. Nolan, I think I maybe needed to get ahead of Houston for Nolan as well. Offensive line is not the Texans' only need. Also,
IDL.
They need receiver. They need IDL. Like, who are we to say that we'll get all this way and the Texans feel like, oh, we'll just go with the veterans we have and not take Emeka Egbuka and get him back with Stroud? Who are we to say they're not going to do that? Like, I know offensive line is going to be locked in for every mock. I don't think that's 100% because they've talked about, well, we like Titus Howard at tackle, and we like, we signed Ken Robinson, and we traded for Ed Ingram, even though it's not really a solution. But
yeah, Laken Tomlinson.
And Laken Tomlinson, right, connections with D'Amico and all, whatever's going on there. I mean, I know it's the most likely thing.
Hey, I like Derek Harmon for that IDL too, man.
Derek Harmon would make sense. They need run-stopping help. Their pass defense is as good as anybody.
Yeah.
You saw it against Baltimore on Christmas Day. That's the game I keep going back to. They can't stop the run inside. Can't do it. So I think if you got – Nolan would have been a great fit in a four-down defense like D'Amico Ryans runs. I think Derek Harmon would be a great fit as a three technique there as well. Obviously gives him pass rush juice also. But that's a problem to me is being able to stop the run. And they still – what do we have? They're walking into next year right, with Dell. I don't know if Tank Dell's going to play next year.
Yeah, I doubt it. I doubt it. Yeah.
I don't know if they're going to go and sign one of these veteran receivers. They got Nico Collins at receiver, and that's it too.
Yeah.
Like to say – I think to guarantee that this pick wouldn't be Egbuka is also kind of odd. I think he's somebody that they might want.
And look, if he gets to 25, it's going to be one of those things where it's like, is he really the 25th best player in this class? Odds are he's higher than that. Like, it's hard to knock that.
And does CJ Stroud text somebody on draft night and go,
yeah, right. 2 years of overlap there at Ohio State. You want to go at Egbuka here? I think that makes a lot of sense.
Let's be a little different. Let's go with another. I know everybody's going to mock offensive line. Let's be a little different. Go get Egbuka for the Texans. 25.
And hey, you know what? Sometimes also like you bring in an offensive coordinator, a new offensive line coach, and all of a sudden the pieces start to play a little better. It's sometimes it's just weird like that. You just need a new voice in the room, new scheme, and maybe Nick Casey's that guy. Like, who's to say? And also, like if they wanted to go into your offensive line, like a Tate Ratledge into the second round, somewhere in the third round, like I think that's totally possible too. So there's options aplenty once you get into day 2, day 3 for IOL. The Buccaneers after trading back, dude. Can I pass on James Pierce? Oh, you know what? I'll go Jalen Walker here. This is my Jalen Walker spot.
That's reasonable. I was going to say it's one of those two guys. It's one of those two.
And he's my agent of chaos, to quote Heath Ledger in The Dark Knight. Like, just it's not about the money. He's just an agent of chaos. Move this guy all around, drop him in the coverage. I want a quarterback if they have 2.5 seconds to spend the first 0.2 identifying where Jalen Walker is and is he coming, is he not. I want to take up that amount of processing time just solely on Jalen Walker. So move him around. I think Todd Bowles, that's a good DC for him to go to. We'll see how long Todd Bowles there in Tampa, but
it's funny. It's funny you mentioned because Trevor Sycamores' current comp on Jalen Walker is Devin White.
Right.
You're right.
Right.
It's like that.
I wasn't a super high Devin White guy, and I do like Jalen Walker. What's funny? Sam Monson on the 33rd team and Check the Mic. It's just funny. He was talking about how he loves Kenneth Grant. He's got him as like a top 10 guy on his board. He's like, this is normally the guy I don't normally fall for, but something about Kenneth Grant this year is just a little different. I feel like Jalen Walker's that for me. I'm like, oh, he's kind of homeless. I don't know what he's going to be, but for whatever reason, I watch the tape and I get freaking pumped watching him. So I like Jalen Walker a lot.
All right, 27 Ravens. I do have options here. I do feel like this is a guy who's going in the first round, although I think it's debatable. That left guard spot is sitting there open right now. You mentioned this guy just a minute ago in Tyler Booker. I think if there are certain scheme fits, I wouldn't love him. Like I wouldn't love him in Seattle. I think it's not what Clint Kubiak's looking for. This big mauler who can help us in pass protection at left guard. I think Tyler Booker very well could be a Baltimore Raven. Put him between Linderbaum and Stanley, replacing Macari at left guard you lost in free agency. I think this is the range. Like I wasn't a fan of like when Booker was getting mocked all the way up to like 10th overall. I wasn't a huge fan of that.
Miami,
and I don't think like a Miami again, not with the outside zone, not a great scheme fit. You want Booker getting downhill. He's also a good high floor pass protector. This is the range I start to think about it. I think the Ravens with Tyler Booker makes a lot of sense.
I will say, I think Donovan Jackson's a little underrated, and it wouldn't shock me if he ended up going ahead of Booker specifically to Baltimore because of that left tackle flexibility. I wonder if they're looking at this and they're like, Stanley, we gave him that money, but he's missed some time. I almost wonder if that trump card for Jackson might be, just that, the trump card over Booker. But I totally get it. Yeah, Booker to Houston and Baltimore, sign me up for that first-round pick. To Miami and Seattle, not even just like the position, like where they are in the draft order, but just the scheme fit. I'm not seeing it. So no, I'm with you, Lux, right there. Detroit Lions. A lot of me wants to go James Pierce because I got him ranked higher.
I get it.
But Michael, can you? And I hear you. James Pierce definitely got better against the run this year. Part of it's also like his 2023 tape. I swear, like I first loaded it up and I was like, is that a safety playing on the line? He's so noticeably thin. This year, I can believe where he's like 240 something. Totally. And I think he sets the edge and he holds up against the run. I don't know if he's going to be like a TFL machine per se at the next level. So I do worry about that. Plus Aiden Hutchinson, smaller arms. What does that look like against the run? Michael Williams, I don't have those concerns. But at the same time, dude, like Gray's able to be that like Frank Ragnow long-term piece. God, I don't know if I can quit that. Like that might have to be what I do here.
It would be hard for me not to go edge rusher here. I think I get it with Ragnow. He plays through injuries. He's tough as nails. But he's still one of the best in the business, right? I think the Lions, if you're in win now mode like the Lions are, I think this almost has to be an edge rusher. I think it has to be.
Yeah, I hear you. And plus, you could probably go 7 IAO or like a White Milam in the second round, get some interior offensive line help. And then just hope Ragnow stays healthy.
And I think, guard is listed as a need there, but I don't think it needs to be. I think Christian Mahogany is starting at right guard.
Oh, that's true, too. Yeah. Mahogany was my guy. I don't know why that dude fell to the 6th round.
Couple games he played last year were fantastic.
Yeah. But to that point, I don't see him as a center. So that's where kind of Zabel, I see him as the best center. But are you drafting a backup here? No. I'll go Michael Williams. He's another one of these guys where, like, in a predictive mock, he probably should go off the board before 28. He's live at 10 to Chicago. He's possibility at 11 for San Francisco. He probably goes higher than this on draft night, but there's a lot of really good edge rushers, and I hate seeing James Pierce on the board here at 29 too. There's some of these guys are going to fall, and to me, it was Michael Williams. I like his run defense partnered up with Aiden Hutchinson. I think that balances out that defensive line.
No, that's reasonable, and I think look, they need edge rush help. They went from first when Hutchinson was on the field to I think it was 27th after he got hurt in pass rush grade. Crazy. They couldn't rush the passer without Hutchinson.
And who knows? Like Michael Williams could be fun if you're willing, if you have the risk appetite for it. And here at 28, I certainly have more of a risk appetite for it than at 10. How many reps do you think he had standing up playing outside linebacker? At Georgia,
It was not a ton. I know it's a pretty low percentage. That is one of the theories floating around with Mike Hell of, well, if we let him do that more often than Kirby did, what would that look like? That is if there. I can. What's funny is I compare him. I think he's a little bit better, but I compare him a lot to Darius Robinson last year, who went in the same exact slot last year. So kind of ironic that we got him there, but I don't hate that at all. I think between Mike Hell and Pierce, it would make a lot of sense there. All right, we're odd number 29 at Washington. This is simple for me. Value play. I need edge help. I'm taking James Pierce Jr. if I'm Dan Quinn. Some people question the size. Some people question the ceiling. Obviously, he needs more polish. I think for sure he needs to come up with a better pass rush plan as opposed to just winning with the athleticism, and it's freaky level athleticism. But James Pierce Jr. at 29, if he got to Washington here, absolute steal. I think it's everything they're looking for. And
even if you are like, hey, he's kind of light to play on early downs, Washington has the infrastructure to have guys out there on rundowns and then just let James Pierce go when you're up 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter and let him pin his ears back. Like that dude is an absolute finisher that they're looking for. So then to the Vikings.
I want to see about another trade and what it would cost.
Okay, let's do it. I will say honorable mention to this could be an interesting Nicky Mann-Worry spot. I wonder if that could be your Harrison Smith replacement.
Smith re-signed, yeah.
But I'm a fan, but Harrison Smith can't play forever. Eventually,
he's on the Levante David annual 1-year contract.
It's my favorite tradition. 100%. I'm waiting for that 1-year deal to come in. All right, what else
would you be willing to trade down again for Minnesota?
Yeah,
this is going to be a little strong, and I know we're trading now twice to the same team here. What is it going to take for me for Seattle to get from 50 to 30?
50 to 30.
It is a big jump. I know it is, but they have some cap. They have some extra.
Yeah, exactly. Here, let's find out. No, and I mean, look, there's 2 ways to use draft capital. Yeah, load up the roster, get a bunch of young guys, or saying, hey, we got 2 2s, we got 2 3s. Let's package this up and let's get a better pick and let's go get a dude. So let's see. Here at 30, that pick's worth 620. Seattle at 50 is worth 400 points.
So you need 220 on the gap there.
Honestly, you know what? Let's just do 50 and 82. And I think the Vikings would be willing to take a discount. Also, you got to think that Jamison Williams trade was not using this draft chart. It was using a different trade chart that when you saw that trade and plugged it into Draft Tech, it looked like a huge loss for the Vikings. But using their draft chart, it was totally fine and they were comfortable with it. So again, I think this is a team that's, for the sake of it, let's just do 52. You got this pick from Pittsburgh. It's like free money to Seattle at that point. We'll do 52.
Wait, so 52 and 82?
One of your extra seconds, one of your extra thirds, moving up to 30. It. Yeah, let's do it.
Let's go. All right, there's an idea here because there was a guy you started to mention, and I was trying to get him from you because I really want him for Seattle. Give me Gray Zabel.
Let's do it. Yes.
I think he's
center. Yeah.
Center, or I do wonder, I don't know how much Clint Kubiak's going to like Oluwatimi or whatever he has there. Either way, whether it's guard or center, absolute money fit with Clint Kubiak.
100%.
Absolute money fit. I do think maybe if it's not all the way up at 30, if he's available somewhere in the 30s, I think Seattle should absolutely go get Gray Zabel if he's available. If he's in, I think he's perfect. When you talk about this team, we got receiver first, right? If they came out of this, whether it's top 30 or top 40 with Matt Golden and Gray Zabel, I'm real optimistic with Seattle.
You're putting through the streets of downtown Seattle. You're
absolutely 100%. Gray Zabel, I question the strength a little bit. He's got, it's a similar archetype, but he's got some Graham Barton in him, right?
Right.
Good athlete, former tackle, move him inside. I think for Clint Kubiak's system, I think Gray Zabel would be absolutely perfect. They can figure out the position when they get him in training camp.
Yeah, it's just finding out who your best five are. And I think Christian Haynes is a great scheme fit for that offense.
Yep.
If I remember right, it was mostly zone for Michigan. I was kind of like a day three Oluwatimi lover, so I was kind of disappointed he went as low as he did. But that being said, he's still a guy I have hope for, and I think he's a good scheme fit for that offense. So let's plug Gray Zabel in at left guard, and let's make this happen. I like it. You're telling me that you turned DK Metcalf and one of your DK Metcalf and one of your thirds, so an expendable asset that you were looking to move on from, one of your extra thirds, and you turn that into Matthew Golden plus Gray Zabel. Like, how could you not be excited about that?
And based on that trade, I'm still picking at 50 to do what I want at 50, which is spectacular. Yeah,
100%. So then we get to Kansas City. I think I'm going to have to be boring here and go Josh Simmons or Josh Connerly. Simmons is fun. He's got really good tape, but it comes against like nobodies.
He's also to me. So like it's weird. I think Simmons
injury risk.
I think Simmons is high risk, high reward.
Yeah.
The good tape is really good. There's some ugly tape in there too. I think Connerly, you kind of know what you're getting, and that's going to be the part where it depends on. Do the Chiefs want to make a ceiling play or do they want to make a high floor play? I do actually think Connerly has a higher floor than Simmons does.
Yeah, I mean, he's another guy we got to talk to at the Senior Bowl. And like I saw big strides from 23 to 24. And I asked him about it. And he was like, honestly, like I just had it click where like my movements were coordinated. My hands and feet were working in conjunction with each other. And it's like, it's amazing when you hear guys talk about that because it's easy for us to say, in my extra, bedroom in my apartment, it's like, duh, do it. But then when that light bulb clicks for a guy and he's only 21 years old, you're like, okay, I think there's a high ceiling for him too. Honorable mention to Derek Harmon here.
Yep.
Dude, like him and Chris Jones could kick ass together. That'd be a lot of fun. But I'm going to go Josh Connerly. I could also see a world where Jalen Moore, I know they just signed him, but it's $15 million a year. Just call that a good swing tackle insurance policy for a team that's pretty dependent on their left tackle. But also in a year's time, I could see them flipping over to the right side and moving on from Juwan Taylor. I don't think that's impossible either. So like long term, this works in a lot of different ways. So I'm going to go Connerly there at 31.
Just find talented offensive linemen. I get it. I absolutely get it there. Somewhere, it feels like the Chiefs are picking somewhere in the trenches in this draft for sure. Yeah, I'm with you.
100%. What do you want to do here with Philly?
There's two guys here. I mean, I could think about either A, replacing Milton Williams, or B, replacing Josh Sweat. And I think between Harmon and Scorton, I don't think I have a wrong pick here. That's the luxury of being as good at football and roster building as Howie Roseman is.
Totally.
I know there's been talks about Xavier Watts at safety. I think they could wait to take a safety. I'm still in the conspiracy also that maybe they sign Justin Simmons when all is said and done to get back to Fangio. But
I think you're on to something there.
Yeah. I don't think in that defense it's necessary at all to take a safety in round one. I think it's trenches. They want to build through the trenches. I'm tied between Harmon and Scorton here. I'm going to lean Scorton. I've been making this pick a lot lately. I think as a direct replacement to Sweat, stand-up edge rusher. And I think for me, what you want to remember with Scorton, can he reduce inside? Yes. Was he a better run defender at A&M a little bit this year, kind of playing in a three-point stance? Yes. But for me, the foundation of his tape would be him just terrorizing quarterbacks in 2023 at Purdue as a stand-up outside linebacker. I think the flexibility that he did learn at A&M helps him in Vic Fangio's defense because you're talking about a guy in Fangio who it's mostly now, right? Base is the nickel's the new base, I should say, and he's 4 down. He's in the nickel to Jeans on the field. But against 12 personnel, against big run sets, he will absolutely get in the old 3-4 like he used to for all his years in Carolina, New Orleans, and San Francisco. So I don't think Fangio's he's certainly not afraid to change up fronts. I think score 10 would allow him to do that. I'll take Nick score 10 to finish out the first round here.
You know what I just realized? Somewhere we flipped odds and evens. And
did we?
The team's at 31. And I didn't even think about that. But no, your logic's rock solid there. And honestly, I have done so many of the same boring picks for Philadelphia. It's good to get a refreshing insight. So that's awesome. And then plus I'm going to take it with a Brown.
Oh, you know what it was? It's because I made the Zabel trade and I stole 30 from you.
No, it's totally good. Totally.
Well, you're staying on odds here with the Browns anyway because I know you want somebody you want here.
And I'm with you. Scorton. And it's interesting. If you looked at Scorton and you just flipped those 2 years, he went from A&M, let's just say he transferred to Purdue, slimmed down, played more stand up, he'd be a top 12 pick. Like, I don't know,
he would go top 12 to 15. He might go to Dallas at 12. Yeah, for real. That's
what I'm saying, 100%. And I also and I mentioned this to Max too, and I get it. A lot of emphasis on stopping the run and Mike Elko's defense. Hey, former Notre Dame DC, I'm wishing the best for Mike Elko. He's the man. But even when they're pass rushing, man, it feels like there is so much emphasis on. And I mean, you should do this no matter what. Like, I'm not. This is probably a duh statement for you to hear, but it feels like they're rushing solely with lane and gap assignment in mind. And it's almost like that's why you see so many long arms and speed to power and bull rush moves out of these guys, because they're just trying to keep it linear. They don't want the quarterback to break the pocket. And I almost wonder, just like Nick Scorton, hey, be creative. Go out there and do your thing. Don't worry about it. Just go out. And I wonder what that ultimately leads to for him too. So I do want to throw out Josh Simmons as a pick here. I didn't love his right tackle tape at San Diego State, that is. Yep. But he needs a year to come back from the injury. He gets to sit behind Lane Johnson. I think that could be one of the few places where it works for him, and long term it would be a good investment there for Philadelphia. So I wanted to shout that out as well. But yeah, I talked to you before the recording, and I was like, you know what, I'm going back and forth. I don't know if I want to do Shedeur there at 2, or if I want to do something else. I decided to go Carter, and I told you, all right, let me get this one odd pick that turned into 2. But I'm going to do Tyler Shuck, man. He's my quarterback 3. This is my opportunity to just kind of sing to the high heavens of what I think of Tyler Shuck. And why I think this could work too, right? They're not in the dome yet. You're playing in some rough elements. Tyler Shuck's arm, I think, plays in that. And for everyone who says, oh, but he's 25 years old, he's too old, I think that's just a load of crap. Quarterbacks are playing longer and longer. We're talking about a 41-year-old visiting Pittsburgh today. It's okay. So, and even using that argument against someone who has the problem with that, Andrew Berry would probably like to start winning games now. I don't know how warm his seat's getting, and Kevin Stefanski, 2-time coach of the year, I don't know how warm his seat is, but if you see a 25-year-old and you're like, oh, well, he's too old, but maybe that makes him NFL ready too. But also between Shuck and Dart here, I just look at those offenses. Which one of those two am I more confident? If I had to play them week 6, I'm feeling way better about that being Tyler Shuck. So I think the arm strength plays in the weather. I like his experience. And I get it. The injuries are a concern, and that's going to come down to how much risk appetite you have and what your interviews and what your teams are saying. But if you get he's coming off a year at Louisville where he was fully healthy. If your doctors clear him, to me, it's a slam dunk for him as the 3rd best quarterback in the class. And outside of round 1, this is the guy I would most want to put my neck on the line for. So I'm going to go Tyler Shuck there. You basically have a competition, him and Kenny Pickett, who comes out on top. And good Lord, saying that out loud doesn't inspire a whole lot of confidence. But I'm a big Tyler Shuck guy. So Browns take him at 33.
I like Shuck. There's certain things to like about him. The experience angle here. And now I'll say this. We are talking about the franchise that drafted Brandon Whedon. So
he's not quite.
No, it's clearly not an inhibitor when it comes to age with the Browns, but there are things to like about him. I believe he was a 5-star, close to a 5-star prospect back in the same year.
Back up once long ago, yeah.
Back in the same year, I think. What is he? He's older than Trevor Lawrence. Is that the stat? I think that's right.
I think they're the same age.
Look, very good arm, very good go ball. He loves throwing that ball outside the numbers. That's for darn sure. He's mobile, and I think this year he did a better job of, because it was so often where his injuries back at Oregon or Texas Tech were a matter of him being too reckless with his legs. He was taking very unnecessary hits. He did a better job, and I think a guy that needs some credit here with Tyler Shuck is Jeff Braun, the head coach at Louisville. This is one of the quietest quarterback whisperers in college football, 100%. Right? When you talk about He turned Mike White from nothing into an NFL backup. He turned Aiden O'Connell into an NFL backup. Brandon Doughty back in the day at Western Kentucky. Even Jack Plummer last year played a lot better than at any point he did at Cal. Now he's watch out this year because he's getting Miller Moss there at Louisville this year. That's going to be fun. But we'll get into that later. But I think Dart would go ahead of Shuck. I don't think Shuck is going this high. I like the idea just to talk about him, and he does have talent. He can make off-platform throws. I do think there's times when the pocket presence is a little ugly, and making some of the throws over the middle of the field instead of on the outside. I think he's very comfortable throwing to the outside is different. He's talented. You mentioned he's a little bit older. I don't know that the Browns would do it at 33. I think he will almost certainly be. I think he'll certainly be available later. Like, where's their next pick? It's 67.
Yeah,
maybe they do it at 67. Yeah. But to get his name out here and to get to talking about him, I don't have him QB3. I don't even remember who. I think I have Will Howard QB3 almost by default. I'm not a huge fan of this class in whole, but I get the appeal with Shuck. And again, the part for me is that he is more talented than the last couple of guys and well taught in Jeff Brom's system and what he has going there at Louisville and had at Purdue and had at Western Kentucky. That would make me more optimistic on Shuck. I don't think he's going this high, but it's good to get the idea out there since we're not doing 3 rounds instead of 2.
Yeah. See, I think he will go round 2, but time will tell there. So, and we'll see. And he's got experience under center, the play action stuff. I think that's a good Stefanski fit. I will say, and yeah, do you want to? I can go back to the evens now if you want.
If the Giants don't
get Shedeur, okay, yeah. If the Giants don't get Shedeur at 3, there is some of Shuck that maybe it's just the number 9, right? Like there's a little bit of Stafford, a little bit of Carson Palmer I see in him. Like again, like shades of, not like full on comp here, but there are shades of that. And I almost wondered since they were knocking on the door trying to get Stafford from the Rams, if they're like, yeah, you know what, 34, let's make Shuck happen. If they don't get Shedeur, not the case here. All right, I'll go back to evens, and then I'm going to give it to you for the odds, with the exception of I got to hear what you want to do with the Jets at 42. That's a must. So Giants, we got Shedeur, Sanders. Dude, Josh Simmons is interesting. I mean, I don't love the right tackle tape, but or Derek Harmon plus him and Dexter Lawrence could be a lot of fun.
Yes, yeah, that's a great call. If Derek Harmon was sitting, that's actually a fantastic call because Harmon I lean in more as like kind of plays with a little high pad level, kind of top heavy, wins with his hands, wins with his first step off the ball, pass rusher. Actually, I think that would be their defensive tackle depth is not good at all. But when Lawrence got hurt, the whole thing collapsed in the middle. I think Derek Harmon would be a spectacular pick here.
It almost makes me wish we did that for the Vikings instead, because that would have been a lot more tenable. Just move up 4 spots, But good, we're setting up the Vikings with a war chest there. I did want to honorable mention to Jaden Higgins. I mean, dude, how fun would it be? Jaden plus Malik Neighbors. I know they brought in Darius Slayton and they got Wan'Dale Robinson, but Jaden Higgins. Don't let those guys get in the way of a potential upgrade there. So did want to shout that out. But Harmon and Dexter Lawrence, that's exciting stuff. All right, I give it to you. At long last, the people are like, where did my guy Dalton go? What do you want to do here at 35?
All right, so we went Cam Ward. We're trying to build around our quarterback. We went heavy on the offensive line and free agency, so I don't have to do that here. So, look, I need a weapon, and I think if I'm looking at wide receiver right now for the Titans, I've got Calvin Ridley, Treylon Burks, Van Jefferson.
Not onions.
I like Ridley. The rest is suspect.
Yeah.
Ooh, see, for me, there's a couple of guys here on this list. You look at the top 3 guys on that list.
Yeah.
Man,
come on. Don't exclude your boy Restrepo. Keep him with Cam Ward. No,
I love. Oh man.
Could you do that in the third though? That would be awesome.
For the ratings of your show, I would take Restrepo here, but I don't think he will go ahead of those 3 guys. Maybe ahead of Besh, but I don't think he's going ahead of Alec or Higgins. That would be so much fun if they got Restrepo with Ward. That would just be the greatest thing ever. But 35. Do you have any trades you want to make? I'm just hearing if the phone's ringing. Sometimes you just got to listen for it.
Well, specifically, I feel like Simmons. Someone's going to want to move up for him if he makes it to the second round. So who would that team be? Yeah, and I'm just looking down. I think Simmons would be the guy.
Wait. New England. Yeah, you got something for New England here? Oh, New England need to take a gamble like this.
100%. And I like Ariante Ursary. That's who I was prepared to take there. But ultimately, if it's him or Simmons, why not move up? All right, where are they at? New England 38. Dude, this is like, I think with the draft tech chart, I think this is like a 4th round pick. This is like a negligible move up.
Like 106 would it?
I think it's a 30-point difference. So we'll make it 144. We'll sweeten the pot. It's boom, or 141, I guess. I'm sorry, no, wrong side. 144. There we go. Boom. Don't even need to force it. Patriots move up to 35. You taking Josh Simmons here?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I would go there. They haven't got a left tackle yet. They went skill in the first round, which is fine. You take Travis Hunter. Yeah, they need a left tackle. And you know what? If they believe in Simmons, if they believe they can coach some of the falls, he's a raw athlete. His good tape is really good. You got to work some inconsistency out, but they need a left tackle. I don't know where else they're going to get it right now.
Retirement.
Right. Exactly. It's like they need something at that spot. I'm like, you know what? If this were to happen, which again, pretty good chance Simmons would go below this, but also the injury risk. And even again, I think he's very high risk, high reward. I think this would be to get Travis Hunter and Josh Simmons at this spot would be a home run for New England. I'm all about it.
All right. Jags here at 36. Mason Graham off the board. I think this is where I'm going to go Jaden Higgins. Go get Liam Cohen, a Mike Evans-esque type of big body X.
It's a good call.
Let me just double check. We've already gone defensive interior. I will say safety play for them last year was horrible. Like it was. So do we want to go Eman Wari here? Let me just double check.
Man. Yeah, we did let Eman Wari slide out of the first round, didn't we?
Yeah, I feel like
we kind of did. Unless you
I didn't want to. I didn't want to let that happen, but yeah, I'll go Eman Wari here. He's too good. He's too talented, like athletically speaking. Like there is too much to work with there to let it slide. Now that being said, who is the Jags DC now? That's what I know.
Oh, it's the guy from Green Bay, Campanile.
Okay. All right. So yeah, TBD on how this will play. Yeah, I wonder how they're going to use Eman Wari there, but
I mean, sometimes you just take talent. Right now they have Darnell Savage and Eric Murray.
Right. And I like Antonio Johnson Jr. as a slot player, so that's kind of where my hesitation is. I would love to see Eman Wari as like a slot player. Those arms, his ability to fly to the ball, like close to the line of scrimmage, I would love that. So that's my only hesitation there. But honestly, Antonio Johnson was, a fifth-round pick for a reason. So don't let that get in the way of drafting someone who's better. So Eman Wari there at 36. What do you want to do with the Raiders here at 37?
I could go receiver. I've talked about this.
No.
But, the secondary is atrocious.
Some good corners available. Yeah.
Well, corners. But you know what, too? I think we always talk about corners. Pete Carroll's going to want an Earl Thomas in this defense.
Oh, dude, maybe we should have gone Eman Wari here, right? I could have given him this Chancellor. Oh.
No. Well, maybe the Chancellor bit. And I might have thought about it with Eman Wari had you left him on the board.
Yeah.
But there's also the Earl Thomas half of that. And if there's a guy with the skill set there, it's going to be Xavier Watts. Let's get the center field. Let's get the center fielder in what's probably going to be a single high heavy defense.
Yeah.
We'll still worry about corner. Like, do the Raiders have another second round pick? No, they don't. Nah. Worry about corner. We'll figure. But you know what? Pete Carroll for drafting late round corners. Richard Sherman was a fifth round pick.
True.
I mean, let's get the Earl Thomas type center fielder in there from Notre Dame. I think that would be something they would heavily consider in the second round here. I love Xavier Watts. I love the game. I love the ball skills. Got much better tackling, much more aggressive this year at Notre Dame than he was the last couple of years. I think he's a really, really nice pick here early in the second round. Make him the centerpiece of that secondary. I like it.
100%. And to your point earlier, there's nothing saying Darian Porter by the time we get through the second round, he's not off the board. Like, I mean, he could be available and still on the board, I should say. And then that could be your Sherman clone, or as close as you can get. Tennessee here at 38. I kind of want to go edge just because you replaced, you lost Harold Landry, but I don't love the value of a lot of these guys. I don't hate it, but I'm not in love with it. Birch, Ivy, Swinson. I'll go with the receiver play here. Ultimately, you just drafted Cam Ward. Go get him some playmakers. I'll go Jaden Higgins. I like him in I manner, so pick your X receiver of choice, plug them in here. I like it a ton. Move Calvin Ridley off the line of scrimmage. Let him play some Z, move him around. Let him be the deep shot. And that's kind of the thing. Like, Ridley's the deep shot. Higgins running those dagger routes that he runs so well. Chef's kiss.
I think your two choices there would have been Ellick or Higgins. I'm with you. Ellick reminds me, I don't know what kind of comp you have for him. Ellick reminds me a little bit of Michael Thomas from the Saints days.
You know what? I've written down Cortland Sutton, but he might be a guy I need to go back and just double check, because also Cortland Sutton didn't run a 4.44. So, I might just be a little off on that. So,
but what's funny with Brian Callahan as their head coach, coming from the Bengals, I think Jaden Higgins does have some T. Higgins in it.
100%. Yeah.
I think that would play up. I think that's a good match right there. All right. I get the fun team for 2 picks in a row. Okay. What did I do first round? Did we go edge? You went Shamar Stewart.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I got some luxury picks going here, I'll tell you, because you look at the Bears all of a sudden with Shamar Stewart on the edge. I'm not going to edge again. You're running out of holes to fill, although one of them needs to be running back. Is that right? That's right.
Yeah, that's what I got pulled up here. I kind of feel like this is a great spot for a running back.
Where are the Bears? There they are. Sorry, I was pulling up the depth chart.
No, you're good. Yeah, Quinshawn or Caleb, I think
picking,
launch.
Picking behind me, the Saints. Saints, we don't think the Saints are taking a running back, huh?
Nah, I don't think so. That's a good point. Because who's on the defensive interior for Chicago? I know they just got Grady Jarrett. That's a 1 year.
Jarrett, Jervon Dexter, Andrew Billings. And the Saints, we went Will Campbell. Okay.
See, if you really like TJ Sanders and you're worried about the Saints taking him, you could go there here. I'm just throwing that out, but
Tyleek,
for that matter.
Tyleek makes a lot of sense. What do I need with the Bears? Do I need run or pass? Both.
We did just get to run defense.
But they signed Grady Jarrett as well. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to start this because the Saints are right behind me. I'm going to start this with TJ Sanders.
Okay.
Interior pass rusher, 3 technique, maybe a little redundant to Jarrett. Maybe Jarrett will play in the A-gap some, but I think TJ Sanders so twitchy at his size, and he gets off the ball, and he uses his hands and his speed so well. I like the agility on the inside. I think for a penetrating front like this, obviously, when you have Montez Sweat, when you have Shamar Stewart on the outside supporting in the run game, even if Sanders is early in his career kind of a DPR type guy, designated pass rusher, I think he's got a lot of talent as a pass rusher inside. Yeah. He's very quick. He's hard to handle with that first step. I think Sanders makes sense. I'm going to take him just so the Saints can't, and then I'll decide on a running back next.
There you go. I think that's a smart play. And honestly, it's a 1 year deal for Jarrett. So even if it's, you're drafting Sanders for 4 years, you got Jarrett for 1. So even if it's a succession plan, I like that a lot. I lied to you. I think I was going to go Tyleek here with the Saints. I think I'm going to go Darius Alexander instead. Ultimately, I think he could play all 4 spots on that D-line. And I think that might just be enough flexibility to where, if anything happened on the edge, too, you could sprinkle him in there as well. So he looked great at the Senior Bowl. All 4 spots he lined up. Super quick hands, quick off his feet, too. So I like Darius Alexander a lot. He's a little older, but just from who he is on the field, I think he comes to the NFL move-in ready. So I'm going to go Darius there at 40.
I'm with you. I like his movement skills better than Tyleek, and I like Tyleek a lot. I think he could very well go in this range. Well, I guess I get to make 2 picks in a row here, don't I? This is going to be fun.
I'm going to say, honestly, Tyleek to your Jets could be hot.
That might be where I go. All right, I got my choice of 3 guys.
Yeah,
I think because I'm going running back here. For me, the 3 I'm thinking about because of Ben Johnson, I'm just doing outside zone stretch thinking here. It's either one of the 2 Ohio State backs or it's Caleb Johnson.
Yeah, I would agree. I got when I went back and watched it, all season I had Johnson as my RB3, Judkins at 4, or actually there were times where I had Judkins at 5 and Henderson at 4, but. More I watch, especially going back to 2023, I'm like, yeah, Judkins is RB3. If you can anyways get him back to how creative a runner he was in 23 at Ole Miss, good Lord. That guy's special. So I ride with Trevor, and I have Scadaboo 3. Yeah, and Scadaboo's great too.
But I think this fit with the Bears.
Yeah, it's a little awkward for Scadaboo.
And I think the 40 time is going to scare people off Caleb.
Yeah.
I'll go Quinshawn. Quinshawn's a proven workhorse. The worry I have with Henderson is that you don't have a ton of games in his tape where there's more than 14, 15 carries. I think Travion's going to be a really, really nice complimentary back with a big-time home run ceiling.
100%.
I think Quinshawn gives you that early down back, and I think if you wanted somebody later on in round 5 or 6 to complement with him, you could find that. I think you could absolutely find that if you're the Bears. I think let's see their running back depth real quick. You're talking about still DeAndre Swift. You still have Roschon Johnson. Maybe you get DeAndre Swift more in a passing down role. I wouldn't hate that at all. I think an early down back like Quinshawn, as much as any back in this draft, what you're getting out of Quinshawn. So right. I think I'm going to go with that. Let's go. We got TJ Sanders, Quinshawn Judkins, and now I'm up with the Jets, huh? Okay. We went Tyler Warren. I still have a need at receiver. I don't have a need at corner. I'm really looking at receiver or D tackle here, huh?
Yeah. I mean, Eilick would be a great compliment to
he sure would.
Garrett, man. But also Tyler. Yeah. But I almost do wonder if you go Eilick here, could you just get like CJ West in the third?
I just had that thought.
Somewhere in that range.
The number of run stoppers, you just said a great thing. The number of interior run stoppers in this draft is crazy. Like there's guys who could go in round 5 who could contribute. I even think about a guy like an A-gap guy like Jamari Caldwell, right? Like guys,
Caldwell's great too. Yeah,
I love me some JJ Pegues from Ole Miss. I love that guy. He's just so much fun.
Hey, he saves a roster spot. No need for a fullback if you got Pegues.
Darn right. If you got the geese, all right, I'm using that now. Yeah, I'm going to go Eilick here. I'm going to go Eilick, and now I've really beefed up the offense with Tyler Warren, Eilick Iamainer, and, Justin Fields, at least for this year, figure out a way to use that to your advantage, man.
If he's missing those targets, those guys with those catch radiuses, you've got a problem.
Well, that means Arch Manning will be our quarterback next year, so I'm not really all that concerned with it. Am I still taking this odd with San Francisco here as well?
Have at it, man.
All right, I'm sorry to steal your show here.
Dude, people listen to me talk all the time in these mocks. This is great. You want Membu for the 49ers. What do you want to do here?
Oh, actually, no. I just made my own life really easy. Listen, you talk about run-stopping defensive tackles in a 4-man front. I'd be shocked. I'd be shocked here if Robert Saleh didn't want Tyleik Williams. I'm taking Tyleik Williams. Absolutely. I need something else on this defensive line other than Nick Bosa. I'm all about. They've had issues for at least a year and a half, if not 2 years, in run defense on the inside. That's Tyleik Williams. Put him. And the funny part, he can play the 3 or the 1. He might not give you a lot as a pass rusher, but this is the type of player they need. I'm all about it.
Yeah, no, I mean, Tyleik, I still think there's room for me to think that he could at least be a Vita Vea, right? Like, if you push the pocket twice a week and it came at the right time, that might be all the pass rush juice I need out of you, to be honest. If you're like a consistent run stopper and you give me 2 of those a week, especially at 43, I'm loving that value. I also think you hit on a great point there. San Francisco, them and then the Browns offensive line last year, it's one of those units where you always see it as a strength, so you kind of forget to look at it. But then, like, midway through the year, I was like, wait a minute. Those are 2 of the weakest parts on their rosters. Like, what's going on here? So, yeah, sometimes it gets flipped up on your head. Cowboys here at 44.
Got options. You got options.
I do. We already got linebacker.
So you went Campbell. All right, couple of guys jump out at me.
What are you thinking here?
Couple of guys jump out. You could go receiver. Like a Jack Besh, low moving costs. Jack Besh, right down the road, Fort Worth. You could go receiver. The other 2 guys I look at, one of them I think fits Eberflus defense a lot, and that's Landon Jackson.
Yeah.
And the other one is a guy that I love that I would take either around this spot or even higher. I absolutely love Jack Sawyer, man.
Yeah, I have Sawyer higher than Jackson. That's kind of the direction I was leaning, actually. Yeah, because, dude, Eberflus wants those 4-down guys, man. And, I mean, I know Marshawn Nealon they just drafted him in the second round last year, but it's a pretty substantial injury really early on in his career, too. Also, let me double-check the offensive line. What are they looking like there? I'm sorry, that's not.
The right side could use some work.
Yeah, Brock Hoffman scares me. I'll be honest with you. Who would be even plug in there? Oh, yeah, Terrence Steele's. I've already said that, though. Like that. Oof. You could go Donovan Jackson, but then you're asking him to flip over to the right side. I don't think that'd be a problem, per se.
I'll tell you what, there's a name there. I don't think he'll go this early. I do love me some Ozzie Trapilo, too.
Ooh, Trapilo's a fun name to shout out there as well.
If you got him, I don't know if he would go this early. I don't know if you feel like entertaining a trade. Is there a trade to be entertained?
Do we feel like Besh can play outside?
Yeah, I think he's a Z, but he could play outside. I think he could functionally play outside. He's a Z. You move him around the formation. You can do a lot of different things with him and CD kind of messing around with motion and things like that, but I think he could play out there.
Yeah. All right. Let's do Jack Besh there. That's one I haven't done in these mocks, so let's do something for the variety. I like that.
All right. What did I do for the Colts earlier? Starks. I went Malachi Starks earlier. I think we start to think about with the Colts in this range. If they don't get Warren and they don't necessarily want to take Loveland at 14, I start thinking about tight ends.
Yeah, no, I love Mason Taylor in this spot. Like get ready to pack your bags, learn how to be a Colt. Him or Elijah Arroyo. I'm cool with either one here.
I think Arroyo intrigues me because of Shane Steichen's offense and the ability of Arroyo to work after the catch, which I think he is better at than Taylor. I think Taylor might be a little bit better of a blocker, but Arroyo with the route running, and with the after the catch ability, and we know with Steichen he likes to use those tight ends in the RPO game. I'm going to go Elijah Arroyo here for the Colts. I think tight end is a very much though it's probably. I would argue it's really the last piece other than quarterback that needs to be filled in on their offense, but I'm a big fan of the Colts at some point relatively early getting a tight end in this draft.
It just negates any argument one of those quarterbacks could have. Oh, I didn't have the supporting cast. No, you got four receivers deep if you're going to throw Alec Pierce in that mix, who's coming off a pretty good year. And now a tight end plus the backs, including Jonathan Taylor in that mix. So, it's up to y'all now. So I totally like that. All right, Falcons, let's make it happen, dude. Let's feed families, man. I just think if you can get a draft of Jahdae Barron or Will Johnson, we could have gone Johnson there, that first pick, and partner him up with Braden Swinson, just a closer, a guy who's going to finish plays. Could be, honestly, I like Swinson enough to where a couple years from now, 10+ sacks a year, I think is in the cards, man. Long arms, good get off the line of scrimmage, and awesome closing speed. He's just got a great ability to if he's got a lane to the quarterback, he's going to make that play. So Braden Swinson to be hopefully that guy that puts that pass rush up and over the edge for Atlanta, plus Jahdae Barron, sign me up for that.
I get it. I think it makes a ton of sense. Edge rusher. I have Princely Umanmielen. I think one.
And I'd be totally cool with Princely there too.
Yeah, I have him one or two spots ahead. You're talking about the same type player. 3-4 stand up outside linebacker. Raheem Morris likes that. Either one is fine for them. I have Princely, I think, one spot ahead in my edge rankings, but I'm not going to argue either way. I know you wanted Swinson. Either one makes sense.
I have them next to each other in rankings too. So,
what team was I looking at? Oh, the Cardinals.
I got a name in mind, but I do it every mock, so I'll lay off for a second.
Oh, you do it every mock. All right, hang on. Wait, let me try to piece this together.
Dalton hasn't been watching the mocks. I see. No, I'm playing with you.
I'm killing your ratings. I'm sorry. Man, I got options. I mean, I still think a pass rusher like Princely would be an option. I went corner first round, right? Will Johnson?
Yeah,
okay.
Will Johnson.
Corner's gone. Edge makes sense. Demetrius Knight makes some sense to me at linebacker.
Yeah, I like Knight too.
They signed Akeem Davis Gaither or Gaither. Which way is it? Is it Davis Gaither?
Davis Gaither?
No, Davis Gaither. Sorry, I got mixed up there. But he's more of a depth guy. I like him as a third guy.
Definitely.
D-tackle could still be a thing. I'm not in love with Shamar Turner. I need a run stopper, but I think I'd wait. Yeah. Oh, man, unless I reach down there for C.J. West.
All right, you want the name I normally go with?
Go ahead.
Donovan Jackson. It's lazy. They just got their offensive line coach from Ohio State. Plug him in there at left guard.
Oh,
that's been my trajectory with this pick. Pretty much every.
They re-signing Evan Brown. He's flexible. You move him to the right side.
100%.
No, I'm gonna wait on it.
Okay.
I'm gonna take Demetrius Knight.
I like that.
In part, I'm being selfish. I'm being selfish here, and you'll see part of this in a minute. But
sure. Something tells me Donovan might go 49 or somewhere thereabout. We'll see.
We'll take Demetrius Knight. I think Jonathan Gannon really wants to give this defense a boost. I don't think he wants Akeem Davis Gaither starting.
Yeah,
I think if you get Knight, a lot of speed. I like a lot of those guys from South Carolina. But really, you look at their linebackers, their inside linebackers right now. It's Mac Wilson and Akeem Davis Gaither. They got Michael Walker. Like, they need some sort of alpha at linebacker. I'll go with Knight there.
Yeah, and also I feel like I always am plugging Knight in to this little cluster in the 50s of Tampa Bay if they didn't get Jahad Campbell, the Broncos at 51. So this is good. This is new movement for Demetrius Knight, who's a good football player. I liked him at the Senior Bowl too. Miami Dolphins. We went Kelvin Banks. Man, oh man. Let me just double check their roster. Part of me kind of wants to go hey, it'd be nice to replace Christian Wilkins, Omar Norman Lott. Let's go.
Ooh. See, I think corner. I think secondaries.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm looking at. Yeah, if you got Storm Duck starting, sorry, we got to fix that, dude. There's a handful of names, and I mean, Storm Duck, all-time college football name, but he's just not that great.
Oh, yeah. Oh, an all name draft would kill, by the way.
Oh, 100%. 100%. But it's like, I was talking to Renner about this, but like Dean Lowry. If I see Dean Lowry somewhere in your starting lineup, that's like one of those names where I'm like, you could do better there.
Tough.
So
Amos, Harrison. Oh, Ravel's still on the board. There's a lot of people who think Ravel's going before this.
Yeah.
We may have let Ravel slide too far.
Yeah. I like Amos a little bit more, though, if I'm honest. Ravel's fun. I could do that, too. And it's Anthony Weaver. I can't remember the man coverage rate for Miami last year, but Azaria is a really good player, but he's dependent on being on a man-heavy scheme. So that's the tough part with him and Mox. I'll go Chavon Ravel. Let's do that. Dude, I think this big athletic corner with Jalen Ramsey.
This just works as a talent play. I think more so than scheme fit. If they I don't know that they will. There's been a lot of talk that he's going to go sooner than this. But if they did get Ravel at 48 and they got Banks, we had Banks at 13, I think that's a darn good draft for Miami, I think.
100%. And like size, speed athlete with ball skills, like don't let him get out of the top 50. Like get that guy somewhere in the top 50.
I'm with you on that. All right, I'm doing it. You caught me. You caught me red-handed. With Cincinnati. We went Mike Green first. I'm trying to improve the trenches. I don't know what they're looking at with their guard spots right now, but give me, again, low moving costs. Listen, only takes me about 90 minutes to get from Cincinnati to Columbus. We're going the other way with it. Donovan Jackson here to the Bengals. Let's protect Joe Burrow, please.
In that left guard spot, it's been a problem for too long. We got to fix it. And then in the event of an Orlando Brown Jr. injury, which is liable to happen, Donovan Jackson slides over in a pinch. Now, I like that a ton.
Agreed. Absolutely. You get a fun pick here with Seattle.
Yeah, man.
You went interior. We've all see. I love this. I love where we're at with Seattle in this scenario. Even if it's not all the way up to 30. Again, if they trade it into the 30s to get Zabel, because now you've already got a receiver and you've already got an interior offensive lineman. Fair game here. Do what you want. Absolutely love this. Where we're at with the Seahawks. And
they could even trade back, right? Like if you wanted to recoup some of those assets because some team wanted to move up for, I don't know who it would be per se, maybe a running back.
All right. Wait. Okay. I'll bite. Wait a minute. Okay. I'll bite.
Who wants to trade? And who would the running back be? Cam Scadaboo, maybe? Scadaboo, Johnson? Running back?
I was actually going a different direction here.
Okay. Who would trade up and who for?
Let me think about.
Also, well, hold on. While you're thinking about that, Darian Porter here at 50 might be a little rich, but like him and Arik Woolen with Devin Witherspoon in the slot would be like hashtag fun to watch. Like that would be the epitome of that.
All right. You're getting fun. And for the same reason, I'm going to talk about something here. What would it take for Philadelphia to get here? From 64 to 50. What's that going to take?
Ooh, that's a good question. Hey, they're one of the recommended teams. Let's find out. 64, 50. How many points difference are we looking at here? 50 is worth 400. 64 is worth 230. So about 130 points difference. Let's see. What could Philadelphia do to make that? It's not very Howie Roseman to move up. But that being said, you got your eyes on someone clearly.
I'm looking at a couple of things. I do have my eyes on somebody. I got an extra 5th-round pick next year for whichever trade they made.
Okay.
I could throw in like one of those 2 5ths next year also, if that helps. Or
I think it works points-wise. 64-96. Package those two up. Move up 14 spots.
Just get players that we want.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's go. All right, 64-96. 50.
Eagles are on the clock at 50. What are you doing here, you madman? We went scorting.
There's somebody I love as a fit, and it's a guy you just mentioned in Fangio's defense with all the zone coverage. He was. Yep. I might need to find this stat because I forget the exact placement, but it's really high. Give me Darian Porter to Philadelphia.
Yep.
They signed Adoree Jackson. I like that fit. But Adoree Jackson's not going to be the long-term answer. They lost Darius Slay. They lost Isaiah Rodgers, which I think is a very underrated signing for Minnesota. There it is right there, that 91.1 zone coverage grade, that number on the bottom you have there. That's what I'm looking at. That's one of the best marks in the country. I think it's absolutely perfect, a perfect defense for Darian Porter to get into with Vic Fangio. I think if you're cooking now with Porter and Quignon and DeJean, I don't know how you throw into that. I think it's a perfect defense for him. I'm actually pulling it up right now. Is that the best zone coverage grade in the country?
It's got to be there. Him and Barron.
It is second behind Jahdae Barron.
Yeah, I'm going to say Barron.
I'm in on this. I think for the scheme fit, I'm going to do it. I'm taking Darian Porter to Philadelphia.
I love it. Now the tough part of that is like, why would Seattle give up Darian Porter? Because he would be a fun ad for them too. But I'm totally here for it, man. I'm totally here for it. Okay, Denver Broncos. Actually, this is your pick. Broncos at 51.
Oh, okay. I stole 50 from you to get. Okay,
No, you're totally. Hey,
51.
Anytime we get Darian Porter in the second round, dude, you got my thumbs up. I'm loving it.
So we went Burden already.
Yeah.
Do I want more jokers? Oh, we haven't got running back yet either.
Yeah, this Trey Henderson or Caleb Johnson. Henderson's the joker type. That's your Reggie Bush pass catcher. But Johnson as your lead back could be fun. Who are the backs they currently have? I feel like we just talked about this. Jaleel McLaughlin, Audric Estime. Oh, dude. Estime plus Henderson. That could be fun. Tyler Batty, Blake Watson.
I'm trying to think about this. Man, I do like their offensive line. Where's Denver and some of these? I'm just quickly looking at scheme things right now. Oh, man. I don't even care the scheme. Oh, I want to do this so bad, and I'm just thinking about it.
Okay, who we got in mind?
I want Scatterboo.
Dude,
I think I know Estime already, but we didn't see him a ton last year. I know they do I think the one for me that would make this an argument is Travion Henderson with the speed.
Yeah,
but I just love Cam Scatterboo as a football player. I mean, how could Sean Payton, at the very least, I think Sean Payton would see some Mark Ingram in him.
I was just going to say the same thing. I think we send in Scatterboo. I like it.
And I'll tell you what, he's an underrated receiver. I'm telling you right now, watching him catch the football, people think, oh, he's just this big Toby Gerhart power back. This is a two-way back, and he's got the heart of a friggin' lion. I'm about it with Cam Scott. Give me Cam Scatterboo with Bo Nix, with Luther Burden. Let's go. Let's jumpstart this offense.
Dude, that sluggo route he ran against Taft from Clemson in the college football, like that in and of itself,
it made no sense. It made no sense.
Where'd that come from?
Oh, it's just ridiculous. Just absolutely ridiculous.
100%. And yeah, like Toby Gerhart, that is the laziest like that is like calling Ladd McConkey Wes Welker. Like that is just color match. See one, see the other. Yeah, right. That's matching on skin tone for sure.
All right.
Dude, Minnesota Vikings, we haven't made a pick yet, dude.
We've yet to make a pick.
They have fully unsubbed from the channel. This might have to be my Trey Amos spot. They've had a lot of turnover there in the secondary. And I also think, man, like Amos, I feel like it's still not perfect in zone coverage, but he made some right strides in the right direction. And I talked to him too. And to me, like the main thing I saw was he's communicating. And like to me, if you're communicating in zone coverage, there's reason for me to think that you can keep doing that job well and get better at it. And Jeff Okudah, 1-year deal. Isaiah Rodgers doesn't stop you from here. Byron Murphy, play him in the slot, as well as Josh Metellus. Yeah. Or Maxwell Hairston too. Like
I'll push back and give you some other ideas here. Now, They look pretty good at corner. When you think about it, you got to remember Mekhi Blackman was out all last year.
True.
Good player. So, and they kept Byron Murphy. So right now you're sitting on Byron Murphy, Mekhi Blackman, Isaiah Rodgers, Jeff Okudah, and Dwight McGlothern is also a player that was undrafted last year that I kind of like. I'm going to throw two more suggestions at you. If you want to take Amos, I get it. He fits with Flores.
No, I'm actually kind of leaning Caleb Johnson with you saying that.
Caleb Johnson was one name, or if you wanted to run stuffer inside, maybe a CJ West. Caleb Johnson would be the ideal fit for Caleb Johnson.
Go Caleb.
Perfectly ideal.
In some ways, he almost kind of looks like a bigger Aaron Jones in some ways, but also like RJ Harvey is almost Aaron Jones. There's a couple, you know what's funny? There's a couple guys that make me think of Aaron Jones this year, and there's a couple of backs that make me think of James Conner. Like Damian Martinez gives me some James Conner vibes.
Yep.
There's some Cam Scatterboo in there too, like with some James Conner similarities too. So it's funny how these same names seem to proliferate in my mind. But yeah, I'm gonna go Caleb Johnson there. Him plus Aaron Jones, awesome.
Yep.
And if anything, I think Aaron Jones, he doesn't have like the best leg drive. He's got quick feet, but not like short yardage leg drive. I think Johnson could help in that department too. One of the bigger backs in this class. So I like Johnson there as a compliment. And dude, if that's your first pick, you trade back twice, you go from 4 picks to 7 in this draft, and you still get Caleb Johnson. I mean, I think you're pretty happy if you're a Vikes fan.
I'll give you a couple other running back comps that I'm a fan of. One is Trevor's, and that's Caleb Johnson. He sees a mix of Dalvin Cook and Todd Gurley, like in that kind of
Interesting. Yeah.
And you mentioned a guy we're probably not going to get taken here, but RJ Harvey. RJ Harvey for me, he gives me a James Cook vibe.
Yeah, I can see some of that too.
I get a little James Cook out of him.
Dude, you know what's funny? I love the top of this running back class, but then I look at my running backs. Here we go. I'm pulling it up. RB10, Damian Martinez. RB11, RJ Harvey. RB12, DJ Giddens. If I could put DJ Giddens in a Steelers jersey tomorrow, I would sell my soul to do it. But we took a running back in this mock in the first round, so we're not going to do that here. But like, you almost look at RBs 10 through 12, and you're like, I'm not saying I prefer them over my RBs 1 through 9, but compared to what I could get elsewhere, I almost lean in that direction. So no, I'm with you. Harvey, Martinez, and Giddens, those kind of becoming my guys.
I think in the middle rounds, I've said this for a while, you're going to see teams that you might not expect to take running backs still take them because they're so friggin' talented. Absolutely.
100%. And this is the year, too, where like your 6th round edge rusher, your flyer on the edge, your flyer at running back, I would keep tabs on that because that random edge rusher this year, that random running back this year, odds are they might be pretty darn good.
Sure. Yeah. Absolutely. A guy like Harvey or Martinez might have been RB 3 or 4 last year.
Right. Right, exactly.
Crazy difference in talent. All right, I have the Bucs at 53. I think the name that jumps at me, stand-up pass rusher. We went in between. Let's just say we leave Jalen Walker at linebacker next to Levante, right? Because he's very small for an edge guy. I'm going to go with a real edge guy here. I'm going to go a guy who used to play right up the road in Gainesville. Give me Princely Amon-Mielen. I think very, very possible he could go ahead of this if he fell to the Bucs at 53. I think a fantastic pick for the Bucs to make. Get a pure stand-up, long wingspan edge rusher, somebody who can win those one-on-one battles. I know they've got kind of a crew there. They got Chris Braswell. Yaya Diaby's really been the best guy off the edge for them the last 2 years. But I think adding Princely they just more often need to get home with a 4-man rush. There's too many times you watch the Bucs and they can't get home without blitzing. Obviously, Todd Bowles is a heavy blitzer, but sometimes you got to be able to send 4 and leave 7 in coverage. Give me Princely to Tampa Bay. I think it's perfect.
Well, and also Hassan Reddick's on 1-year deal. So even if and I see Jalen Walker as playing him everywhere. A few snaps here, a few snaps there. So I think they can already coexist. But especially you look a year from now, and assuming Reddick's not back, there's definitely a pathway for both those guys to get on the field. I am holding out hope that Chris Braswell is a solid. I thought at 56 they got good value there with him last year. Back to the Packers, dude. If this is another one of these teams where, like, if I could put Jack Besh in this offense, like tomorrow, I would do a lot of bad things to make that happen. So I wish Besh was here.
Oh, I think this is simple. I think this is very simple.
What are you thinking here?
I think it's the top guy right there. I think it's Trey Amos.
Yeah.
If he got here, if Hafley wants to run more man-to-man, they just need talent at corner. And if Jair's going to be gone, this is a huge problem. A huge problem.
Amos or Azarieh. Yeah, I got Amos ranked higher. I'll stick with Amos. But if they are going to go man coverage heavy again, honestly, Ben Morrison too, like if you got the risk appetite for it, the talent is better than 54. It just comes down to 2 hip surgeries for the guy, the way he plays. Like, don't love that. Yeah, so I'll
Morrison healthy would go top 25. Easy.
You know what? Let's go for it.
You're taking the gamble. Okay.
I'll take the gamble on Morrison because it's one of those things where, like, I mean, it's even better value, honestly, than Caleb Farley. But if Caleb Farley, had he worked out at 22, you'd be like, holy cow. Like, Jeffrey Simmons, same team, different example. He went 19, and there's no way you could tell me in that draft class he was the 19th best player, So you do get some risk reward here. And I like Morrison. I like him a lot, but it's just going to, I wish I could talk to a doctor about his hip, but I don't get the opportunity to do that. So,
yep. What do you want, Jim Harbaugh? What did I go first round? You did. Kenneth Grant.
Do you go tight end or receiver here?
Yeah, that's kind of picking my option out of all of them, isn't it?
Yeah. Also, I think just at where we're at in the draft with their needs, I think that best aligns with it.
This could be amazing.
Gold with 2 solid corners in the 5th round, so I think you're good there.
This could be a Mason Taylor spot.
Yeah.
I got another one. Well, they took Coulson. I don't think it's a linebacker here. My first instinct looking at where we're at here tells me, unless he wants Josiah Stewart, just get the whole band back together.
Just run it up.
My first instinct, though, I think he believes in Thule. You obviously have Khalil Mack. I mean, they're not deep off the edge. Josiah would make some sense.
I think you can get him in the 3rd, though. I think he'll fall a little bit. When's their next pick? 87, right? That's the third round for that? Yeah, okay.
If you wanted to make some trades and maneuver it and things like that.
Yeah, I think you could make that work.
Man. All right, I'm down to 2.
Okay.
One is Mason Taylor, and I go the tight end route.
Right.
Or I know that they signed Najee Harris. I know it's a rival. I know that doesn't matter. Travion, I need speed.
Have they brought back Dolphins yet?
No. They're right. From what I'm seeing right now, it's Najee, Hassan Haskins, Kamani Vidal.
Yeah, no guarantee. And hey, I'm the captain of the Kamani Vidal. I got him in a couple dynasty leagues. I'm the captain of that fan club, but not feeling too optimistic about it.
I think they could look at tight end options in round 3 as well. I think it's a pretty deep class. They could look at finding some players there. Yeah. Mason Taylor makes some sense. Travion Henderson. I need speed in this running back room, and the fact that they have Najee as that first horse at least for 1 year gives me the opportunity to use Travion in the more limited 15 touches or less 100%. Role. As the kind of the home run hitter, right? He's like that guy who hits 6 in your lineup in baseball, but you're really afraid of because you know what he can do.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Travion here. I need speed in this. I don't have enough speed in this Chargers offense. It's kind of plotting at times. I think this would be a lot of fun. I think Travion would love running behind this offensive line. You added Mekhi Becton. Jim wants to run the ball, but Najee doesn't give you that home run speed. I think Travion, and he's another one, underrated receiver. The second half of last season down the playoff stretch for Ohio State. He can make plays out of the backfield. I'm going Travion, the Chargers. I love it.
And Najee's a pretty good pass protector too, but Henderson and Hampton to me are the best 2 pass protecting running backs in this class too. So love it from that standpoint. Going back to the Hampton thing too, like if you sign Aaron Rodgers, he's going to want a running back who can do that. So kind of fast forwarding here to Henderson. I do think that's a good ad there too. And it's kind of tough when you look at him versus Judkins. I kept going back and forth. You can get more use out of Judkins. You can just give him the ball a little bit more, but like the 12 to 15 that you get out of Henderson is awesome. One last thing I'll say about this. I also love it from this standpoint. I don't love Henderson's vision between the tackles, but get this guy into space and he's awesome. Najee's going to be your between the tackles guy. You're not going to have to worry about that. So let Henderson get out into space. I like that a ton. I like that a lot. Buffalo Bills at 56. I'm just not going to let anybody steal him from me anymore. The last couple of guests we've had on have taken Kevin Winston Jr. away from my Buffalo Bills. So Kevin Winston's the exact safety that I would have gone with. That's like the guy. That split safety fit to me is chef's kiss.
Oh, love that. Wow. See, okay, good. I'm glad, and I always hear from Max with the Penn State thing, but I'm with you. I'm a Kevin Winston believer. I think if he was healthy, if he played this past year, he would get first-round consideration. The talent on this guy – I'd
go as far to say his 2023 tape is better than Stark's 24 tape and E-Man Warrior's 24 tape.
It's possible. I think he would have gone first round. I'll say this, and we have numbers on this as well. I would argue at any position he is the best tackler in this draft.
Yeah,
he's it. If he's healthy, this is a steal, and this is somebody. This is the Bills. This is the theme for me with the Bills. Take a gamble, trade up, take this guy. If Ben Morrison were here, take him, take the gamble to make this defense significantly better. Stop playing on the margins because your defense is not good enough to win a Super Bowl. Get guys like this and take that chance. He would make their middle of the field coverage so much better down in those shallow 10 to 20 yard areas. 100%. And I think you could argue he's the best tackler at any position in this draft. I would absolutely love this move if the Bills got him. I'm with you on this. That's a spectacular pick.
And then it becomes a 2-round haul of Walter Nolan and Kevin Winston. That's taking your defense to the next level. Yeah, 100%. That's how you're going to beat the Chiefs if you're going to do it. All right, you're on the clock here at 57. Carolina. We went Tet McMillan. This is your chance. I still feel like there's some good edge talents here that you can look at here. Or corner, honestly. Who's the number 2? Michael Davis, right?
Mike Jackson.
Oh, Mike Jackson. That's what it is.
And he was okay last year. He's good enough. No, I think I'm not going to let him fall any further because we didn't go D-line. This is the idea, the foundation of building this Panther defense beyond taking Tet. And I think every single pick from here in should be defense. Give me Jack Sawyer here.
Let's do it.
He's a guy I really like. He's a guy I'm a little higher on than Trevor is. I think, the high floor versus high ceiling argument is always something when it comes to guys going in the first or second round. But look, Jack Sawyer, he's a heart and soul guy. His run defense tape to me is a clinic. It's one of my favorite things to watch in this draft. I know he's got the short arms, but the vision and the way he attacks and sets the edge first and then attacks the football, I love that. he might be able to give you, I know there's been some comp to say, guys like Sam Hubbard, or I think Trevor's comp is Rob Ninkovich, but I think he can give you enough as a pass rusher. He's the most explosive guy in the draft. No, but I think Jack Sawyer, man, he's just got it off the edge. He's got a knack for plays on the ball. I love his run D tape. I think this is someone, if the Panthers were to start their second round in the rest of their draft with Sawyer, I would absolutely love it. I'm all about it.
Yeah, no, I'm with you wholeheartedly there. Sawyer, and it's one of those things where you look at his short arm measurement and you're like, yeah, the guy plays the run great. Where'd that come from? But also in the college football playoff, the guy started batting down passes out of nowhere. Like he just gained that skill set, and it's like, and he has short arms. Like, how'd that happen? So that was a bit of a head scratcher for me. All right, but no, I still really like the player, and also like a little bit more athletic than JTT. So that's kind of where I think there's a little bit more juice with Sawyer than Tuamoloau. All right, I am going to go offensive line here for Houston. I'm thinking Wyatt Milam, but I also love Seven Aiea.
Milam's a weird one for me because I would just love to know the plan. Like, what is your idea? Because we don't think he's playing tackle, or do we?
No.
We don't. Okay, so you're up
5'8". Yeah, no, he's a guard.
Because Savaiinea, I actually think Savaiinea could stay at tackle. He reminds me a lot of Jermaine Alumore.
Sure, I can see that. Where the foot speed's not as bad as you would think for someone as big as he is. And I think he showed that at the Senior Bowl too. But he's also like a mauler at guard. So I think the conversation becomes like, he could be a good tackle. He could also kick ass at guard. The problem with going Savaiinea then is like, you already have a couple guys on this offensive line where what is their position? What is Titus Howard? What side is Blake Fisher playing on? So it's like, do I want to add one more guy into that mix?
Right, and if you draft Jonah, that feels like, especially this high, you're trying to replace Fisher, I think. Yeah. I think Jonah with his pass protection, his footwork, I think he's a sound pass protector. I think he could stay at tackle. I really do. I think he could be a right tackle. So then what do you do with Fisher, who played a lot? The other guy I'm going to point out, you might be getting there already.
Alfred Collins.
Oh, I was going to say CJ, actually.
Or CJ West. Or a lot, man.
So I think I think run defense, and I think a four-man front run. This is going to be the scheme bit, right? And I love Alfred Collins. We might even get him picked in the next handful of picks here. But for the Texans defense, for the four-down defense, and for a guy that needs to occupy blockers in a four-man front of that group right there,
yeah.
To me, CJ West would be the best player for Houston. If we had another team, I might say Collins. I love Alfred Collins, the versatility and everything he gives you. If you're taking a D tackle for the Texans, I would take CJ West.
Okay. I still feel like there's a lot of options down the board, though, so I don't know if you need to go West here. Do you almost just go Ursery and say, yeah, we know we got Cam Robinson, but we're going to need someone beyond this year?
It's a good thought because they're picking next.
Ursery fall. You could also play Ursery guard, too, if you wanted to play him in left guard for a year.
Throw this out there. If they wanted West, the Texans are still picking at 79 and 89. You could very well still get him there. Ursery would make some sense. I don't know that he would get much further than this. And you could go, okay, well, we can move Titus somewhere else. And we have Ursery, and we have to work on the pass pro a little bit. Like, I think Ursery is going to go before Milam. I'll tell you that. I think he's going to go before Savaiinea.
Let's go Ursery. It sounds like they're going to run more gap, which I think Ursery's more of a zone fit, and that's kind of the other trepidation I have with this one. But let's just say we get him some experience at left guard. We'll move him over to left tackle to replace Cam Robinson by next year. And in that time, we're going to figure out what Blake Fisher is, what Titus Howard is, and where they best fit in the mix. So buying myself some time.
That makes a lot of sense. I'm about
cool.
it.
All right. I give it back to the Ravens at 29.
All right. Let me see something real quick. So I think with the Ravens, I could go edge, but I don't think Landon or JT fits their defense. I do like Jared Ivey a lot. I love the versatility. Somebody in our building threw out a John Franklin Myers comp that I really like with that. Corner is weird for me with them because Marlon Humphrey played in the slot this past year. He moved inside a lot. And I know it's not the most natural thing for him to do, but he did play pretty well. So if the idea is to leave Marlon Humphrey in the slot, I could take one of these corners.
Yeah.
Do we know, have they re-signed to Darius Washington?
They need to.
They need to because they were awesome when they put him in the starting line.
How'd that guy go drafted? Who let that happen?
Okay, I think they re-signed. He was a restricted free agent.
Tender. Okay, yeah. So he got a tender from the Ravens. So I think he's going to be back. I don't know how you feel about Sebastian Castro. You could also draft Castro here to play the slot.
I wouldn't take Castro this early
before him. Yeah.
No, I think I'm going edge here.
Okay.
I think I'm going edge. I think they're thinner at edge than corner. I think I have options at corner, especially later. If I take a slot corner, maybe even a Castro. Marlon Humphrey makes this situation kind of malleable, and I'm so shocked that we have Trey Amos that's still fallen this low.
I know.
Which, we'll get there. He's not getting out of this second round. I'll say that.
He's either going 60 or 61. I can count on that. It's either I'm going to take him with the next pick, or you should definitely take him in Washington. Yeah.
Man, do I want to take Josiah Stewart here. But I don't think he's going ahead of Landon. Landon, JT. You know what? I'm gonna
too. You know,
I think Collins just feels like a Baltimore Raven too.
Oh, Alfred Collins too. That's a great fit. Yeah, I like Collins.
Oh man, let me look at this. I just think they need edge more than inside though.
Collins, I think, can land anywhere. Matt Buike, Jordan Travis, Broderick Washington. Yeah.
Let me take.
I'm
going to do it because he's higher on the board. I'm going to take Landon Jackson.
Okay.
I think excellent run defender, whole lot of length on the outside. Got to teach him some more pass rush moves for sure. He's got to get better with the pass rush win rate, but that's a pretty good value for Baltimore. I think it's someone who can help him at least on the early downs off the edge. And if you want to if you're still putting Kyle Van Noy or whoever out there on passing downs, that's fine. I think you start Jackson out on early downs. You teach him how to rush the passer. You see where it goes from there.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. I think that's a great value pick. Him or Ivy. And I also think Ivy, he's just like a power rusher they don't have on the roster. Landon Jackson, like you said, he's a better run defender than a David Ojabo, or someone like that right now. And then he tested really well at the combine. So it's dude, let him be a high-level run defender for 2 years, and let's just see where we're at by year 3, Who knows what the potential could be as a pass rusher. Lions, I know they brought in DJ Reed, but I might have to stop the fall of Trey Amos here. Same thing with Maxwell Hairston, dude. I mean, there's people convinced he's going to go round 1. But at the same time, hold on, let me do my due diligence. Jared Wilson could be an interesting, get a future center. 7 Isaiah.
I love Jared Wilson, man. I'll tell you. I'm going to throw one more out there because sometimes you just think about you get to the Lions and you think, who's a Dan Campbell guy, right? Yeah, does Carson Schwarzenegger feel like a Dan Campbell guy?
Oh, dude, yeah, 100%. And dude, he's not as big as Jack Campbell, but the read and react, change of direction stuff. I think Schwarzenegger's more of a downhill missile than Campbell is. But I saw Campbell's 3-cone on tape before he actually tested it, and then I got that number, and I was like, there it is. That totally makes sense. He's not that great of a long speed guy, but he can shift and kind of read and react really well.
Oh, when he pulls the trigger, man, I will give you that. That just certain guys I think about as just Dan Campbell guys, and then Schwarzenegger is jumping out at me here. We already went edge player, so I think JT Tuimoloau. If they went elsewhere in the first round, I think JT would be a great fit here. But you already went edge with Mikel, so.
Dude, I think they could double up at edge. I'll be honest with you. It wouldn't shock me if they did the same thing they did last year, just at edge. I really wouldn't.
I think JT would fit. He would fit.
I think I might go there then, to be honest with you. Azaria Thomas is their type of corner too. We're just hating on this corner class. But honestly, you look at the next 4 teams after the Lions, there's going to be some corners in there.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm going to go JT. I really do think there's a shot they go double up at edge. And honestly, you just watch the Eagles win the Super Bowl, most tired narrative of the offseason, but it's the fact of the matter. And if the Lions could get 6 deep at edge and just keep these guys fresh, I mean, I guess 6 deep across the defensive line, that could make them as dangerous as any team in the NFL. So I'll go JT Tuimoloau.
Okay. I like JT in that defense too.
They did some interesting stuff with Aiden rushing against guards too, rushing from the interior. So yeah, we did go 2, kind of heavy set run defense edge, but that's nothing to say you couldn't do some creative stuff with Hutchinson on the inside. So
I'm with you. All right, Washington 61. This is simple. If somehow he gets this far, which might be a low likelihood, but every mock draft's weird. This is Trey Amos. I mean, it's Dan Quinn Dan Quinn likes corners with size. He likes man-to-man corners. They have needs at edge and at corner. If Amos maybe possibly in year one would be able to start across from Marshawn Lattimore, these are the two biggest needs on this team. They just got to keep building this defense. They went offense, previously already with Tunsil, with Debo, building around Jaden Daniels. Go beef up this defense in the draft. If they come out of the first 2 rounds with an edge that they want and a corner they want, money draft for Washington. I'm still amazed that they got Laramie Tunsil without giving up either of the first 2 picks. Insane to me. Just insane.
And talking about Houston, it's very interesting to watch Chicago and Houston. Similar situations, rookie contract quarterback, and you feel good about them being the dude. Chicago's like, give me the vets. We want guys who can be good right away. And then Houston's just like, clean house. We're going to start over from scratch. We don't know what that looks like, but we're going to start over. Very different ways of going about business, but something tells me that offensive line in Chicago is going to be better. But no, I love that. I have a buddy of mine named Jake. He's a huge Commanders fan. I think this is the exact haul that would get him amped. Like James Pierce, Trey Amos. He's also like I think an SEC fan too. So I think that this would be the combo to get him pumped. Dude, the Bills, man. I'm between 3 different guys here. Jared Ivey to get some edge reinforcements. There's just no guarantee Joey Bosa is going to play at all. Not that Bosa and Ivey are like 1-to-1 per se. This is low key to that point. Like Josiah Stewart, just go out there and get like a game finisher. But these 2 guys here at the top, mostly calling my name. Hairston in that zone-heavy defense, his speed and click and close ability, he could be an absolute play maker for them. And then Schlesinger, let me just double-check. I know Milano's getting up there in age, and they still have, Terrell Bernard, right? So,
and they still have Dorian Williams as well.
Dorian Williams.
So
I'm going to go
if you were going to go, I think Hairston is probably the right pick here. It's either zone corner, and Hairston makes some sense, or if you were going to go linebacker, they need coverage. They need like a specialized coverage linebacker. Williams is good in run defense. Bernard's okay in run defense. Milano's getting older. Like that might be a later thing that we try to find. Yeah. I'm trying to think of like who are the best coverage linebackers in this draft.
Yeah, even like Chris Paul, he's become this downhill guy. Barrett Carter, same thing. Maybe Kaiser, like Kaiser in the 5th, if he's not a Bengal by then.
Somebody later. I like Jay Higgins, but I know he's not the best athlete.
Higgins.
But I think Hairston makes the most sense here. They need help at corner. So I mean, if we come out of this and you've made 3 picks now for Buffalo, and we've got D tackle, safety, corner. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for Buffalo. I'm not taking an offensive player. I don't care. I'm like
pump that into my veins. Oh my god.
Okay, all right, I'm in on it. Hairston. Oh wow, we only got 2 picks left. Look, we've made it. All right,
2.5 hours in. Here we go, boys.
Oh. It's draft season. We're living. The Kansas City Chiefs. We went O-line first.
Yeah. Dude, Norman Locke could be a handful next to Chris Jones. Azaria Thomas is kind of a Spags corner. I just don't know if they'd put the investment into it.
They usually go later.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So is it Norman Lott? I think I'm between a couple here. I'm not in love with Shamar Turner. Not my favorite. I'm between a couple. Is it Norman Lott as the athletic pass rusher, like flashy? And the weird part is he doesn't play a ton. So he's, for me right now, definitely rotational. Or is it a West or a Collins because their run defense on their D-line has not been good?
Yeah, I'd lean Collins there. I got him ranked a little higher, but also he can just line up anywhere on the D-line. I think I'd go Collins there.
I mean, like I said, I love Alfred Collins, man. I think the versatility, the length, and I know he doesn't give you a ton of it, but Alfred Collins is an early down player. There's a couple of guys in here that we're not going to get to a second round. I would love to have seen Restrepo go in the second round, but Collins is a guy. I would take Alfred Collins in the second round, and he just makes my football team better. I'm about it for the Chiefs. Their run defense, so the pass rush is good. Chris Jones, Karlaftis, the whole bit, Spagnuolo blitzing, but they need run defense help on their D-line. Alfred Collins is exactly what you're looking for.
100%. All right, Alfred Collins. Well, you brought up a good point there. Let's actually talk about some of these guys as I seemingly cannot find Alfred Collins. Some other guys that I don't think are going to go in the second round. I don't think Schwess is going to be my pick here. They like Tyrese Knight, but to me, he's like, I would take him in the second round. Restrepo, especially after seeing him at the Senior Bowl, I'm like floored that I'm not getting him in the second round here. I feel like Jared Ivey might be my pick here for Seattle. Let me just they just brought in Tank Lawrence.
I mean, you've hit a point where you've gone interior and you've gone wide receiver where you can take a best player available. Just take your guy that you think.
Oh, you know what I'm gonna do? Mason Taylor. They have ignored tight end for way too long.
Good
I
call.
think that Mason, and he's a guy that should go round 2. Azaria Thomas could go in the first round, and it wouldn't shock me. He's just so hard to mock. Like I said earlier, he's just so good in man coverage, and I worry about what the zone, even though you see the zone coverage 78 overall grade.
To me, Restrepo, I love Restrepo. To me, he would be a second-round pick if we would have found a way to fit him in here. I mean, we got some great players taken. Restrepo's awesome. Ivy's borderline second round here. Thomas is probably going to go higher than we have him since we didn't get him taken. I think beyond that, I think we did pretty good here, to be honest. I mean, that's probably a little arrogant. Maybe a little arrogant of me to say, but we put a lot of work into it.
Yeah, for sure. Josh Farmer, I could see sneaking in there. Trey Harris, maybe. Jared Wilson wouldn't shock me. Savanael, Milam, I think they could both go round 2. But yeah, other than or Cameron Williams, I could see. Like if the Eagles still had the 64th pick here and didn't take a right tackle, like that's their project. That's their Lane Johnson guy. But yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm gonna go Mason Taylor. I think we did pretty darn good. Not to matter.
Especially just speaking again on that last team for Seattle. I mean, you're talking. Look at the haul we got Matt Golden, we got Gray Zabel, and we got Mason Taylor.
Lord,
boy, if I'm Sam Darnold, and I could still with the picks that we have left, we still have Seattle picking at 92. If it's Jared Wilson, if it's somebody like Tate Ratledge, if it's Luke Kandra, I think would be a fit from Cincinnati.
Yeah,
they still have a shot to take another interior offensive lineman if they wanted to. So I think. Look, I've been saying this. I think Seattle's not in as bad a spot as people think they are.
I don't think so either. Yeah, whether it's here's another name, Clay Webb. He had some good snap. The first day of the Senior Bowl was a little rough for him, but by day 2 and day 3, like especially at center, I started to think he got his feet underneath him. If you got him in the 4th, 5th, let's just say 5th round, I don't hate that as an option. At least let him go compete with Ola Oluwatimi, and let's just see what happens.
I will tell you the guy I want them to draft because I think for what they need and for their offense is the perfect fit. I don't know where you're at on this because tape is king and the traits with this one are so weird. But I would love to see the Seahawks take Willie Lampkin.
Dude,
it's perfect. If there's any spot where he could have an opportunity to succeed in an offense with Clint Kubiak in that system, it's Willie Lampkin. I would just. I don't know what round it'll be in. I know he's 5'10". He was another guy. Senior Bowl you talk about. We watched. He dominant. Awesome. Like when he was the last guy invited, he was dominant. He's
the Elvis Dumerville of the offensive line, dude. Like he was born to just also leverage, dude. 100%.
Throwing this out there, I don't know who's in charge of it, but it's a travesty he wasn't invited to the combine. Absolute travesty.
Yeah, I don't know.
Just Willie Lampkin in Seattle is like one of my quietest, weird favorite team fits. I would absolutely love it.
No, and I mean he's still probably a day 3 guy, but the fact of the matter is, before the Senior Bowl, he was an undrafted guy. Like who was talking about Willie Lampkin before then? But to the point about the Senior Bowl, yeah, that's what made the no combine invite even weirder. It was like you know the guy that was just making a name for himself and just like earned as much money as anybody else. Not gonna invite him. Okay, sounds good. No, but I mean, dude, Seattle's in a good spot, man. It's just gonna come down to what Darnold is. And I mean, he's comfortable in that offense. It's just like, to be honest, I think Sam Darnold's gonna be somewhere between what we saw the first 15 weeks and what we saw the last 2 weeks, or I guess the first 16 weeks. And then the last 2 games. Yeah, that's what we'll call it. He'll be somewhere there in between. But I mean, dude, with an offense of Mason Taylor, Matthew Golden, JSN, Cooper Kupp, let me see what it looks like. Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet. The offensive lines can hold up, man. They're in a fun spot. And also, like, the 49ers on the decline. The Cardinals feel like they're kind of treading water right now. We don't know whether they're on the up or the down. It's a winnable division, man. And then the Rams are solid. The Rams are going to be good, but damn, man. Yeah. Damn. All right. Well, there's 64 picks here. Let me scroll through one more time so the good people, as I just deliberate about the Seattle Seahawks. So that's the downside. I like talking, but sometimes you got to know when to shut up. But showing all 64 picks one more time, just so everyone can see and gripe with whatever they have. But we want to hear your thoughts. Who's your favorite team? Who went too high? Who went too low? And what'd you think of the haul that we gave your favorite squad, especially if you're a Seahawks fan? I'm feeling like this is a mock that you're going to like. But also want to hear from my Vikings fan, right? Only one pick in here. Let me hear what you think about it with all the trade backs and whatnot. But I also want to say thank you to Dalton Wasserman, again, co-host of the College Football Show at PFF, the PFF NFL Show. Really appreciate you taking out now almost 2 hours and 40 minutes of your time to chat with this man. Where can the people find your work?
PFF.com right now. I was just going to mention that you want to use that mock draft simulator for yourself. You want to see all the grades and all the data we talk about on both the NFL and the college side. Get a PFF Plus subscription. You can see everything and you can do everything we just did. Even though it was a long process, we only did 2 rounds. You can do the full 7-round mock draft on there. It's a whole lot of fun this time of year, obviously. And then fantasy tools, betting tools, everything out there on PFF Plus. My work, PFF.com, YouTube channels, PFF NFL Show, and PFF College Show. Like and subscribe to all those. We're all over the place, as you know, TJ, so there's a lot of resources to find us.
No, and I seriously can't recommend it. I listen to every podcast in the PFF network, and even if you're someone who doesn't agree with PFF or every take out there, that's totally fine. I think you guys are just adding nuance to the conversation. This quarterback's not just bad. He's bad from this situation or, outside the pockets where he struggles. You guys are just adding more nuance and I think more understanding to the game and the players themselves. So I love what you guys are doing, and I highly recommend people checking out PFF. Whether you agree with them or not, it's good for the sake of discussion and learning more about the game. So, and like I said, man, appreciate you taking the time, man. I've got my money's worth out of you. There's no doubt about that. But that is going to do it for this 2-round mock. Again, let us know your thoughts down below in the comment section, or if you're watching on X, reply back to this, or you can shoot me a DM at TJ Wingard, shoot him a DM at Dalton Wasserman on X as well. But that is going to do it for us. Again, for Dalton Wasserman, I want to say thank you to his time. For 32 Beat Writers, my name is TJ Wingard. We are signing off.